Well, hello, everybody. Ladies, gentlemen, whoever, whatever you identify as, welcome back to the Shed of Dread. Welcome to another Why We Love Doctor Who stream. And this time we're talking about the specials that brought the end of
The
David
specials or
the
series 4.5.
or whatever it was called.
It's weird actually on BBC iPlayer, because if you go and look up series 4 on BBC iPlayer now, it's like extra massive season because the specials have just been lumped in with series 4 now. But at the time they were referred to as series 4.5, so I think of them as 4.5.
4.5 releasing.
Yeah, 4.5 it is. Yeah, but yeah, it's just how it is. The reality is, series 4 is an extra long season.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, depends how you look at it. Purists would talk about production blocks and stuff, wouldn't they? But
oh yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, let's get into it. I mean, we've had an amazing ride these last 3 weeks.
We certainly have.
You know, we've been talking about well, the last 4 weeks actually, because we've done seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4.
And 4, yeah.
But we've been talking about the time the show's come back, and its popularity exploded to match the heights of what it had before. I mean, the first RTD era is now a legendary era.
Yeah,
and always will be.
Oh yeah,
and we'll see. What happens
to
the reputation of a legend maker when he comes back. But
indeed.
But as it stands at the moment, we've been talking about some of the best Doctor Who of the 21st century.
Yeah,
and it's been an absolute pleasure. And the series 4.5 is the wrapping up and the swan song of all of that. And all of that fandom and love and adoration for the character, and a very huge fan base that David Tennant generated, brought into the show. Just a time where the show really could claim to be beloved in the nation's hearts.
Absolutely.
And it's something which has sadly been greatly lost following the 50th anniversary year. The last 10 years have not been the best in those ways. But these first 4.5 was a time where the show was still riding the heights.
Indeed.
And
John, just to let you know, GoldenagedGeek has joined us.
Hello, GoldenagedGeek. Welcome, sir.
Welcome. We haven't done anything yet, mate.
Well,
we're just doing the intros.
So we're just setting series 4.5 in the context of the height of popularity the show was at the time, and before we start talking about the next Doctor. So we've barely begun. How are you doing? How are you?
I'm doing absolutely fine. It has been one of those days, but getting all the issues sorted. And I'm looking forward to this, as I always am.
I was checking out some of your content on YouTube this week. You should give that channel more of a bigging up, I reckon. Don't you agree, Gobby?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone listening to this should definitely go and sub to GoldenagedGeek's YouTube.
Oh God, 100%. And I'll make sure that there's the links to his channel will be on the description when this video comes out on YouTube.
Excellent.
Yes, indeed.
Well, thank you.
So let's dig in, then. Let's dig in. Who wants to kick us off? GoldenagedGeek, right?
Yes.
Cybermen didn't turn up and pin the Doctor down to the TARDIS at the end of Journey's End. It almost happened, but not quite. Instead, we've got that what I consider fabulous, lonesome ending.
Yeah.
But then we did get the next time trailer. Doctor Who will be back, and there was Cybermen stomping around graveyards, and then it's Christmas. And it's the next Doctor, and you're sitting down to watch. How did it go down for you?
Well, because I started watching Doctor Who after these episodes aired. I knew that there was something up here, because I knew that Matt Smith was the actual next Doctor. So when I saw the title of this episode and the description and how it was sort of misleading, I was still intrigued by it, because I did know what was coming, and because the show was trying to tell me differently, I knew something was up there.
It's kind of the after effects of an old fake out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because obviously this was faking out the audience, and RTD had done it with the ending of Stolen Earth as well, with a fake out regeneration. Now we got the fake out Next Doctor, so he was trolling us for all it was worth at this point.
Absolutely.
Because the audience really didn't know. I mean, fans were thinking that maybe the Christmas episode would be the time to pull a surprise regeneration. So there was definitely chatter, rumor, speculation. But of course, when you do come across it after the fact, it must look a bit nonsensical.
Yeah.
But
But
then
the
it's Doctor Who,
episode,
so nonsensical is part of the territory, isn't it?
but the episode itself was one that I think is a little bit underrated. There are a lot of things I do like about it. The I believe they're referred to as the cyber shades.
Yes.
I think that they're a little bit underused, and I think we were getting into that sort of point in Doctor Who where they tried to overdo all the villains to promote loads of merchandise. So you see like the cyber mats and the cyber shades and all these different variants of the villains. But I didn't mind it that much. I didn't mind that aspect of it.
Well, I mean, I would have to say this one didn't land huge with me. It had lots of good ingredients, and it was Christmas, so who cared? Half cut watching it anyway. But it didn't really make me feel like I'd seen a great story afterwards. It didn't give me much of it didn't give me much stimulation after the fact, because I don't know. It's because the cynicism of being an adult does get in the way sometimes.
Yeah, it does ruin it sometimes.
And when I see a 40k Battle Titan size Cyber King, I expect a bit more out of it, to be honest. So it was a little bit of a really big idea that was ultimately underwhelming. I'm a little bit unconvinced about how you could hide that under the river anyway, but that's all right, because Doctor Who and rivers empty to the bottom of the planet. We all know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So runaway bride, God, blimey, how did we get away with that?
I don't know. I really don't know.
It's not science, so the ingredients were good, and I really liked the central conceit. But here was a guy who'd been confused into thinking he was the Doctor.
Yeah.
And David Morrissey was really quite charming.
Yes, indeed.
Shortly before he played his really psychopathic character on Walking Dead. Heck of a contrast. And next time I saw him on telly, he was doing just the heads in jars. I mean, he was trying to do lots of brave things. Wasn't the companion called Rose in this?
Rosita Farsia or something like that. I don't know, but it was definitely Rosita.
RTD continues to play that theme because, of course, we've got Trans Rose coming back in the next special.
We have indeed. We certainly have.
Well, not coming back, but turning up in the next special. So we had ethnic Rose here.
Yes, we did.
And that's not accidental. That's an attempt to bookmark and to say, hey, I could have gone this other way right at the start.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so was Rose, annoying Starko. So consistent writing. All the graveyard stuff worked really well.
Yeah, that's all right. That was.
The cyber shades, well, yes, plus points for doing something different. Minus points for really looking quite cheap. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to disagree with you there.
Let's throw a rug over it.
Yeah. Which is
that'll work.
Yeah, that'll work.
Call them cyber shades. The kids will love it.
Oh yeah, they'll buy it by the
But I did like the info stamp stuff. I've been using the info stamp as a brain weapon, things. I mean, there was lots of good ingredients in here. It's just the end of it. It didn't stimulate my emotions like the previous Christmas specials had. It left me feeling a bit meh. It was a bit a bit too sugar coated, perhaps.
I can see
You
that. I
know,
can see
and
that.
with the Christmas Victoriana and playing up on the cuteness and schmucksiness of that at first. And it's all a little bit too neat and maybe a little bit too fairy tale. And I don't like my Doctor Who too fairy tale. So
Yeah.
I've never really felt that this was a great story. So we have a contrast of opinion. Let's see what you make of it, Gobby.
Again, combining both of your opinions. To be fair, I agree with the Cyber King. How the hell you could hide something that huge? It's just unbelievable. Because I mean, as you said, that's definitely Adeptus Titanicus at its best.
The concept of Cybermen attacking a planet with Titans is awesome.
Oh,
Titans are awesome.
Again, yeah, but
I want to see Titans tight. You know, I don't want to see Titans blur. You know?
Yeah, it was a bit like, okay.
You know, it's like, put that against a proper Titan, it wouldn't last 2 minutes.
Oh no,
this is like getting coat with a chainsaw right through the guts.
Yes, a proper Titan, they kill that in a second.
Even an Imperial Titan wouldn't have a problem with it, let alone a Chaos boy.
Oh, a Chaos one, would just eat it.
Yeah, but if you built an Eldar Titan against it, you'd drop kick it back into the Thames. So
kicked it
good
into
try. Mind you, I mean, Cybermen are there to take a kicking, aren't they?
Oh, well,
They are, of Doctor Who species that are taking gigantic kickings from most, the Cybermen are the beating boys of Doctor Who.
I mean, they do try really hard, don't they, to be good? And every time they get they try so hard.
Right, we're vibing a bit too much there, perhaps, you know. Anyway, I mean, I just don't have too much to say about it. I feel like the better part of this content is ahead.
Yeah,
so
I mean, you know,
have you got anything else you want to offer up, GoldenagedGeek? Have I been too cruel here?
I think the main purpose of this episode was trying to weave in the idea that there is going to be another Doctor, because the audience at this point absolutely love David Tennant. He is, well, I would say the second most popular Doctor, you know, just under Tom Baker. Yeah. But Russell is a smart guy, and he knew that when it came to the time when David Tennant had to regenerate, a lot of fans were going to be sad about it, because even though a few years ago we just had Eccleston, the show had blown up so much that an entire, you know, new segment of the fan base had just been introduced because of the Tennant era. So this applies to me as well, because when Matt Smith came about, there was a period of time where I just absolutely rejected his episodes. I didn't watch any of him because I love Tennant so much, and I thought, oh, this guy ain't Tennant, he ain't going to be as good, and I just didn't watch his episodes for a few years. But I think Russell trying to strip the character of the Doctor down and giving the characteristics of the Doctor to a human, he's basically sort of saying that anyone can be the Doctor as long as you have these qualities. Anyone can be the Doctor. So for those people like me who were pretty rejectful of the idea of another actor taking on the role, he is sort of basically telling you that even though it is another actor and it's a different person, it is still the Doctor as long as they embody those qualities.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's
I think that's a very well observed point about the writing.
Brilliant.
Of course, RTD was laid the ground because he knew how traumatic it was going to be, and he wanted the show to have a good. He wanted the show to succeed. He wanted the show to continue. He wanted to have a fantastic handover. Yeah. So he was breaking the audience in slowly. I mean, I think by the time we got to the next Doctor, everybody knew that Tennant would be going at the end of the next year.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it was Tennant's last journey part. I mean, I don't think they were shy in saying that, were they?
No, they weren't. They were quite forward in explaining that, you know, this
and the newspapers had all reported it, David Tennant's leaving Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Had we had the Matt Smith announcement? Not at this point.
No, not quite yet. No.
That was not that long before End of Time went out, was it?
Yeah, so I think it was like
September.
Yeah,
was it November?
You know, it was in November. I'm sure it was in November.
It was, wasn't it? It was only a couple of months before. It was in November. Yeah, of course it was. Yeah. So we didn't know who it was going to be yet, and we didn't know if he wasn't going to be generating in this episode. Maybe RTD pulling a fast one and bringing in a Doctor early. That was the only part of what's going on here.
Yeah.
But the whole title, the whole point of the story, absolutely was to introduce, to soften the audience up, get used to it, and to have a bit of a last hurrah. So this was the last hurrah Christmas special.
Yes, indeed.
Because End of Times was only incidentally Christmas.
Yeah.
And then we were being taken forwards, looking to the next special, which was Easter.
Yes, Easter indeed it was.
And this time, we would be taken to a planet of the dead. But just before we go there, we better do some scores, hadn't we?
We best do our scores,
right,
indeed.
GoldenagedGeek, go on. You go first. What's your best score for the next Doctor?
I'm kind of between a C+ and a B-.
See, I'm really surprised there. I thought you were definitely in a B.
Ooh.
Yeah, there are quite a few
you did say how much
in
you thought it was a good episode. I mean, we may have popped a little bit of a silver lining here on this one. I'm not sure.
No, I've always been of the
mind of it, but
I've always been of the opinion that the latter half of the episode, although it's still not top quality, it is a bit better. And whenever I think back to this episode, I always think to those moments. So overall, though, yeah, it's C+ or a B-.
It's interesting because I'm thinking of what a C is, and I think I want to withhold my C. So I'm going to give this a B-.
Right.
Because I did. It wasn't without enjoyment. It just didn't land, and it needed something. It needed some work. Maybe a bit of a longer runtime.
Maybe
just to really land it. So I'm going to go with a B-,
and I'm going to go with a C+.
And a C+ from Gobby.
C+.
Right, okay, there we are.
So
we've actually ended up really all pretty close.
Very close. So we've had a B from John, a D from Sadako.
A B-.
And so we're doing all right. Everybody's around about that sort of.
That's a good start. So we look forward to the planet of the dead.
Ah, indeed.
Yeah, when I heard the title of his story, the mind goes wild.
Well, yeah, because the potential of it would be it's.
When I hear Planet of the Dead, I actually think of 2000 AD and Strontium Dog scripts.
Oh, Strontium Dog, yes.
There were stories where Johnny Alpha used to have to go up against necromancers, which was summoning zombies left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
Or something like Bad Company.
Yeah.
Where the Kroot were bringing the dead humans back to life and sending them back in to attack again.
Yes.
I mean, the instant familiarity with both those pop culture references from Gobby there. He knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
Bless him. Unfortunately, may well be sadly lost, but
he has no idea.
I shall endeavour to enlighten you after the show.
Yes.
By finding you what, but these are both strips from the early 80s. What we're talking about here.
Yes.
But we both involve the idea of planets full of dead people.
Yes.
This wasn't quite that.
No, not exactly.
So. But that's all right, because there's nothing wrong with having your expectations challenged, But as it turned out, Doctor Who wasn't about to do George A. Romero as an Easter special.
No, sadly.
Probably understandably.
Oh, yeah.
But,
family entertainment, after all.
Yeah, family entertainment, everybody. Family entertainment. But, it all starts out very pleasant enough. You've got this Mission Impossible inspired dual theft scene.
Yes.
You've got the Liberal jumping onto London buses.
Yep.
And then you've got the accidental travelling into different dimensions. Everything's a giant desert.
As you do. As happens.
Yeah. As happens. And then you get a bunch of running around and get back through a portal home in time for tea.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Plot-wise, this is not a heavy story.
No, it really isn't. It's very good. I like it. It's very interesting, though, because this was the very first Doctor Who ever filmed in high definition. believe
which
it or
is
not.
amazing, actually.
Which is,
Yeah,
thinking about it,
yeah.
look how much Doctor Who, this was the very first one they decided to film in HD.
BBC, all the
Yeah.
stuff you didn't get in HD. Curses fall again.
Yes, indeed.
Stuck in the
Indeed.
same trap as poor old J. Michael Straczynski with Babylon 5, which
Yes,
desperately
sadly.
needs a
Oh,
full
it needs
4K
so bad.
master.
Oh, it really does.
As does Deep Space Nine.
Yep.
That's what you get for being cheap.
Yes, this is it. You see, it's
Then they get the decent cameras, but can only put shit in front of it. I mean, the irony.
Well, yeah, exactly. Oh dear me. Oh dear. Oh.
I think I'm in a cheeky mood today, Gobby.
Yeah, I think I don't know potentially why this would be happening.
What could have sparked us up a bit this week? We're not going to talk about it. We're not.
No, because we love. This is where we love Doctor Who.
We elevate above it.
Yes, indeed.
Susie Kempner.
Right,
no, that's enough.
Anyway, moving along.
Let's get back to the point. So this is, I mean, when Russell T Davies was doing the promo for this, he advertised it as the last fun romp.
Yes, that's
it's straightforward. It was in the blurb,
yep.
So he's telling us, "Hey, everybody, this is everyone sit around and have fun, cozy Doctor Who feelings."
Yeah,
it might be called Planet of the Dead. Don't let it put you off, because it's not actually like that. We've got Lee Evans Lee Evans in here doing a great turn as a comedy unit scientist.
Well, of course. Does it well.
I could have measured those Malcolms and Bernards.
Oh yes, indeed.
It has to be said, it's a guest turn you don't forget.
That's definitely 100% true.
All credit to Lee Evans for that.
Oh yeah, he's brilliant though.
Whether he ate the scenery worse than Richard Burroughs and Paradise Towers is another question.
Well, yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
But
yes.
Tennant's shoulders were broad enough that he could still carry the whole thing along despite that sort of malarkey, and it was fun.
Oh God, yeah, it was fun.
And then we've got the actual threat, which is this species of metallic flying stingrays, planet devourers that can generate their own wormholes.
Of course.
Nice idea.
Good idea.
I mean, terrifying idea. It's the sort of idea where if you applied it in a different context and applied it to planet Earth, you'd get a Tomorrow War or Edge of Tomorrow or some giant military action sci-fi flick countering an extremely freaking dangerous alien invasion.
Indeed.
Because those things could strip your planet in hours.
Oh, they were very efficient, shall we say.
So in terms of threatening, I think the actual idea of a threat was brilliant.
Yeah.
Very strong. The actual menace of the threat was non-existent.
Well, this is it, isn't it?
Because it never gave you a feeling like they were ever actually going to get them.
Yeah.
Apart from the, one bangs at the bus a bit, that's it.
Yeah, it just gives it a nudge.
So, it could just have had a couple of people devoured. And I don't mean the comedy insect aliens. I mean, the ones that you're supposed to care about.
Yeah.
Who could we have chucked off that bus to slow down the swarm?
Yeah.
Could have gone midnight in the desert,
Oh dear me.
And I mean, of course, there's some fascinating trivia as well. But the bus wasn't supposed to be as buggered as that.
No, it wasn't supposed to.
Someone managed to drop it off a container transport.
Yeah.
And that has got slightly mangled. But the show must go on.
Yes. So we just
and all credit to the show for doing that. You're not turn around and go, it's a bit hot, sod it, we'll go home. No,
we're going to do this. We're going to do this.
On the phone to Russell, he'll change the damn script,
Well, and he did a great job.
No, I've completely monopolised the time. GoldenagedGeek, tell me about Planet of the Dead.
I would say that this one is my least favourite out of all the specials. There are some interesting concepts there with the bus. and what they do with that. But ultimately, as you said, the villain doesn't really have a presence. You know it's there, but you don't feel that fear. It's nothing, really makes you be able to understand the danger that this threat poses. And this episode also has an element that Chibnall usually does with his stories, is that by the end of the episode they kind of do a sort of countdown, which is, I'm not a big fan of them. And because whenever you have a countdown, it's kind of a meme at this point. The characters will always save the day or, get to safety when it's like 1 or 2 seconds left. And everyone sort of knows that. And it doesn't, it's very anticlimactic.
Tell that to Adric.
Oh, yeah, but the thing is, that made the
that's a very rare exception to the rule, isn't it? That's the point.
Yeah, but it did make the countdown good. It was nice to see a countdown actually get to fruition for once in its life, because it's as GoldenagedGeek rightly says, it's always stopped at 1 or 2 seconds to go, and I never understand. No one will put a countdown on a bomb. Why would they do that? It's just I don't know, but yeah, I agree with the countdowns. But
it's television.
Yeah.
The sheer naked terror of actually facing a bomb and not knowing exactly when it's going to blow up. How does that translate to audiences? It just looks like nothing on the screen, so they have to do it, don't they?
Shame, really.
The conceit of the tropes of writing. But I think it can be done as long as it's rough mistakes.
Yes.
That's the thing. That's the thing. But we just had a countdown. It is inoffensive enough, wasn't it? Back to you. Sorry, we've interrupted on countdown.
Sorry, carry on.
No, that's about it, really. It's just all the other characters that are introduced, they don't really have a long-lasting impression on me, apart from the woman who's I don't remember her name, but Lady Christina. I just remember her as like a Catwoman wannabe, because every time we see her, she's grappling down somewhere trying to steal something.
So let's drill into that. Did that character have potential as a companion?
No, I don't think so.
Russell seeded Donna. Was he seeding Christina?
Possibly, but no, I don't know.
It all depends if it had really worked out. I mean, what if Runaway Bride had been a bit of a duffer and Catherine Tate's performance hadn't worked out? She wouldn't have been back for series 4, would she?
Oh yeah. So, but no, I didn't particularly like that character in any case. It just didn't ring.
So Darko says Lady Christina was very smug. She would have been worse for Clara on all her bad days.
Well, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Did Big Finish do something with her?
Yes, they did. I'm sure there was a couple of Big Finish.
Has anybody actually listened to it?
No.
That's another question.
Yeah, I mean,
Silence, Tumbleweed. Yeah.
Yes, Tumbleweed. Yeah.
Oh, Big Finish, you so need to go to a subscription service and do something more. This back content you've got that no one's buying, you idiots.
Yes.
Yes, I can see Sadako's been looking at one detail.
Yes, well, I mean,
but to be fair, it was put on display.
Well, very well and very prominently, to be fair.
Yeah, up the rope, down the rope, twist around the rope. Very nice.
Yes, very nice. Indeed.
That's when I wondered if the Big Finish makers had lost their minds.
Yeah, I mean,
the thing with Big Finish is that the existence of it nowadays is very much antithetical to the idea that less is more, because every single Big Finish story is kind of like a what if. Like every single character at this point has been revealed to be a Time Lord or some sort of different alien, and it just takes away from the characters. And sometimes just leaving the characters where they left in the actual show would be better than doing all this crazy stuff with them.
I agree.
Sometimes I don't consume a lot of Big Finish because I struggle to find the quality.
Yeah,
I mean, I mentioned this on one of the earlier streams, but if they had reviews that you could actually get a gist of the stories that people really liked, it would help so much. But as trying to assess all these endless forest of titles that we have on their site now, with no real idea of what's good content.
No.
It's just a bit sad, really. But they've just spammed content out, don't they? But I think the worst thing about Big Finish, which would apply to a character like Lady Christina, and it would apply to characters being created today, like this Doom character, and it certainly applies to the Jodie Whittaker portrayal of the Doctor, is there's this big presumption that Big Finish these days can fix what's
Everything.
wrong on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the truth is, no, it can't.
No, it can't. It can't. It never will.
And that Big Finish's bread and butter is a lot more of a sort of narrow range of content than they'd like to admit, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, we're completely digressing off the point, but
it's fine. No, it's fine.
I don't think Lady Christina had much companion potential either. No. Not like a character with, not like Jenny Sparrow from season 3.
Well, yeah, exactly.
If you put those two together, or against each other rather, it's very clear, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So, let's do the scores. Are you happy to do scores now, GoldenagedGeek? Have you got anything else to add? Yeah. So I said I was holding back my C. Well, here it goes. This is as average Doctor Who gets. C.
There you go. Go on, GoldenagedGeek.
I would probably give it a C-. I don't like this one.
And I'll give it a C- as well, because this was not my favourite at all. And out of the ones, the ones we're going to talk about, this was the least favourite by far.
Well, let's stop talking about it then. Hooray! It's great when we've got freedom of choice. Because so we've got Next Doctor and Planet of the Dead out of the way. This is the point where I start sitting up and paying attention.
Yes,
because this is the point where Russell's grand finale for his Doctor really starts to kick into action, and of course, it is preceded in the closing act of Planet of the Dead, because the Doctor is told he will knock
4 times.
4 times.
Indeed.
Indeed. So we've set up a spooky factor. There is a spooky fate, a spooky destiny surrounding the Doctor. But he's going to take him down. But he's being prophesied. His last of his days are coming. He's going down. Yep. And actually, that last little moment of Planet of the Dead, that last little scene on the bus there, it is quite chilly. Like, you've had your fun, but here's a cold air on the back of your neck. So that was quite good. That was quite good.
Yeah, the sense of foreboding was brilliant. The sense of the inevitable is coming was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I liked it, loved it. Sent a shiver down my spine.
So then we dive into the waters of Mars.
Indeed. Yes.
And this story kicks off with the Doctor striding out the TARDIS onto a gobsmacking Martian landscape.
Beautiful. Yeah, brilliant.
And he's having a look about, and then he crosses a ridge, and look, there's a base there.
Bowie Base 1.
Well, he didn't quite know that just yet. He sees the base ahead of him. And he goes, oh, that's nice. And he turns around and there's a robot holding a gun on him.
Which, will increase your focus very quickly.
Yeah. Gadget, you're under arrest. Foot titles.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're off. Down that time vortex one more time.
Yes.
And it was that feeling of that knowing that this is the penultimate time.
Yeah, we're getting there now.
So the fan juices were getting cooked up here. We were simmering a stew, And what we find out is that this is the first Earth mission to Mars.
Yep.
And I think it's the year 2058.
2059.
2059. Ah, yes, 2059.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're within people who watch this going out, who are 10 years old, in 2009. Pretty good chance that they might be alive, in 50 years' time.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
This is a story set in, a good chunk of the audience's lifespan.
Yeah, reachable lifespan. Yeah.
So, quite a close history. And that gives it a certain emotional connection because we feel the fragility of it all. This is the first expedition. This is the one that has to get it right. I don't think Elon Musk would be happy with 2059, mind. He's getting up there earlier than that.
Well, that's what
I believe Elon certainly is.
Yes, well,
he's not a guy to mess about when it comes to rockets.
He's got a bit of motivation, hasn't he?
Yeah, yes, yeah. The doctor's kind of hesitant. He's brought in for questioning. Oh, who are you guys? Done this 1,000 times before.
Yes.
And there's a certain cheekiness in sarcasm almost to his answers. Like, you're gonna trust me.
Yeah.
You're gonna do it. Yeah. So this is all just going through the motions. But then he realizes where he is.
Yeah.
And then it changes. And he starts to think, shit, I shouldn't be here.
No.
Because there's something about this base on this day that he knows. And it's bad news.
Yeah, it's a fixed point in time.
That is it. It's not just that he knows that everything is about to be destroyed on this day. It's that he knows that this is a nexus in the fabric of time and space, and that he cannot interfere in it.
Yeah.
But fate has its own schedule. And just as the doctor's flim-flamming about, shall I go? Shall I stay? He's just about to pivot and go back out the door. Things start to happen.
Yes, things start going a little bit.
And over in the Agri Dome, Andy pulls up an ill-considered carrot and takes a bite.
Bad move.
It changes everything because that carrot contained an entity that lives in water. And now that entity is in Andy, and that entity takes Andy over. And his co-worker is just coming around the corner going, Andy, are you all right? And then there's a scream as she is also attacked. And then, back in the control center, we're aware there's a problem in the biodome. Let's go and investigate. Oh, I shouldn't really.
No, don't be doing that.
Well, I shouldn't really. But he does, and discusses the need for small bicycles on Mars bases. Because they make it much more efficient with these bloody tunnels. Getting to the Agri Dome, and they've got Tarek, the doctor, with their medical doctor with them, as well as Adelaide, the base commander. And when they get there, they find out that Andy's not really him. Well, firstly, they find his female co-worker unconscious. So they have her sent back to the med bay. And then they go on, but then they find, Tarek discovers Andy, and it doesn't go quite as he expects. And the next thing, the doctor and Adelaide discover that neither Tarek or Andy are their friends anymore. And time to start running! Run! And the one thing this story has got an epic amount of is running!
Running everywhere!
Time and space, not without a good set of lungs and a sharp set of sneakers, because you'll never survive else. Oh, looks like Gobby's had to step out for a moment. But so then the story progresses, and this sense of fate, this sense of the inescapability of fate keeps oppressing things, and the situation gets worse and worse. But finally, the Doctor does leave. And he's walking away, he's walking back to the TARDIS when it all finally goes to hell behind him. And the invading water monsters, for this is what they are, and we've discovered that the waters comes buried deep in the ice field where the base has been getting its drinking water. As the Doctor's turning away, going back to the TARDIS, kaboom! The rocket goes up behind him. The base is in devastation. He knows they've got no chance. He knows they're all going to die.
Yep.
But something else happens then in that moment. Something that has not happened with the Doctor before. It's more than realizing that there are people who are going to die without his help. He's been in that situation
Loads
all
of time.
through his incredibly long life. He realizes there's no one watching over him anymore.
No.
He's obeying these rules, the rules of his people, the rules his people enforce, but his people have gone.
Yep.
Who else but him can see time the way he can? He is the last of the Time Lords.
Yep.
Does he not have the right? And basically, what happens is in this moment of extreme stress, the Doctor has a psychotic episode.
Yep.
And he goes power mad.
He most certainly does.
Right. I will fight you, time. Not this time. I've had enough of your rules. It's going to be my way. So he goes back to the base, and this is the Doctor on fire. This is the Time Lord victorious.
Yep.
This is the Doctor who ran through the middle of a Dalek fleet in the middle of a time war. This is the Doctor who watched entire planets burn and decided he had no choice but to watch it happen.
Yep.
This is the man for whom there are no limits and there is no no. And doesn't
Correct.
he show it?
Oh, God.
Doesn't he show it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when Adelaide, who he's told too much to,
way too much to,
realizes that he intends to disrupt the entire human history, she turns against him. She tries to fight back against what he's doing, but he pushes back against her too. And ultimately, despite time itself seeming to undermine all his efforts, despite electrocuting Andy's water monster before he gets to knock more than 3 times, that's all you're getting.
Yep.
The Doctor uses the gadget robot, hyper souped up, to get the key back to the TARDIS, bring the TARDIS to him, and rescue Adelaide and the other 2 survivors. And he's feeling very, very pleased with them, with himself, as he prances out the TARDIS outside Adelaide's house, back in London.
But it doesn't work out like he thought it did, does it?
Because they don't see, when they see him, they see a monster.
Yeah.
They see a being, an amount of power that scares them stupid.
He's terrifying. He's a terrifying. When he's like that, he's terrifying.
Adelaide shows the character that she is. She shows that she is the base commander who detonated her entire base to save the human race.
Yep.
Because she goes into her house and she quietly shoots herself dead. Resetting the timeline, resetting that she died this day, and defying the Doctor's attempts to go wild and mad with the powers of time and space. And we are left with the Doctor trembling, shocked back into awareness. What have I done? I've gone too far. And then hauntingly across the way, across the snowy street, there is a single
Ood.
holding out his sphere, and the Doctor knows destiny is coming. So that's Sports of Mars, everyone. It's quite a good episode, I thought. I thought it was quite fun.
Did you enjoy that, did you?
Got to be in it, yeah. GoldenagedGeek, over to you.
This episode is one of my favorites, and for good reason. I absolutely love all the ways that the villains are portrayed in this episode, especially in the way that their transformation works, because whenever a human is infected and you see them transform, what happens is you'll have another character and in the background, and they sort of blur out the background so you can't clearly see them, but you just start seeing them just shaking uncontrollably, and it's freakish. And it works so well because it's just an instantaneous, just boom, it's just normal. Oh, you touch the water, you're shaking, and you do something else. And that's what works so well. And it's the fact that it can't really be stopped. The Doctor doesn't.
The threat is unescapable.
Yeah.
Now that's a threat.
It's like in Silence of the Library with the shadows. The Doctor didn't beat them; he only reasoned with them. You can't stop them, and that's and come the end of the episode, the villain isn't really so much the water as it is what the water causes the Doctor to do, and how he himself sort of transforms into a bit of a monster, and he comes to that
the whole
realization.
weight of the future that the Doctor is threatening to derail, bearing down on that moment, isn't it? It's incredible for how the writing conveys that, and the portrayals portray that. I think it's some of the best stuff Doctor Who's ever done. By putting, comments are exploding. By the way, we're going to have to give these all a thorough covering.
Yes.
Should we make a start? Let's have a look. We had. Let's see. It comes up quite a way, doesn't it? Cool. See, I told you they really have been exploding because we started talking about this one. Waters of Mars probably should have been Tennant's regeneration story.
Well, yeah.
Maybe. It could have been.
Yeah.
But I prefer it. I prefer the way it was done. I do. I mean, let's have a proper setup. Also, Sadako, a lovely moment the Doctor tells Adelaide how her tragedy inspires her daughter to go further. Exactly. But that's exactly telling her too much.
Yes, way too much.
Actually, ironically, if he hadn't had to brag, and if he hadn't had to try and sell her so much on why it was so important that he did nothing, he wouldn't have set up the situation where she would have opposed him.
Indeed.
So make of that what you will. Yeah, it's the irony of fact. Archie Colin asked, "Will those people be disappointed when we didn't fly to the moon back in '99?" I really hope not. I really hope not, Colin, because if we don't get our arse into gear about space exploration this century, our civilization will collapse.
Yeah, we need to do something about it.
Sorry to be heavy.
No, that's cool.
But I mean, in case anyone doesn't know, electric vehicles are not going to save us. Not even slightly. Not even closely.
No.
We cannot afford the materials for the batteries that would be required to scale them up.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
We don't have enough of the rare elements. We've got to get out into the solar system. We absolutely must if we are to stay a technological civilization. So if we haven't made it into commercially exploiting space by the end of this century, go find somewhere out of the way to survive, because the 22nd century is going to be fucking ugly.
Yeah, it's okay.
I might as well dish out a bit of hope truce while I'm here, Gobby?
Yeah, you might as well, mate.
Might as well. Yeah. So I really hope they're not as disappointed as that. The time prophet, no such thing as a fixed point. It's a writing conceit, I give you that. But how do we know there's no such thing?
Well, you see.
So I mean, you have to admit, as an idea, it does exist within the realms of the possible.
Yes.
The Time Lords moved the Earth and renamed it Praxis. They didn't care about fixed points. Well, yeah, but that was not one of them, obviously, because I suppose at that point the Earth was devastated anyway and had been abandoned, hadn't it? because of the solar flares, you know. So the human civilization wasn't centered on Earth. In fact, humanity had turned it back on it, so they could hide it with their paltry secret where they liked, I suppose.
I guess so.
Mostly good, but moments of telling rather than showing. Yeah, fair enough, you know. But I mean, to be fair, you can't entirely avoid telling, not showing. If you try and make everything show, not tell, that's as false as the other way. So I didn't feel it was egregious. You know, sometimes you just got to get it in there because you've only got so much time to play with, and you're trying to save up to get the action scenes in as long as you can. So you have to set up what's going on. Gobby needs to set up sort of toilet in the shed.
It was.
No
I didn't go to the toilet. It wasn't the toilet.
But the Sadakas is fine for running, but the gadget super stunts leaving fire tracks was a bit stupid. Yes, it was.
Yeah, of course.
But it was entertaining.
Yeah, back to the
future. Running away from monsters, then towards the monsters, says Esslin. But wow, that's Doctor Who for you. Also, Colin, yes, there was a hint at what might have happened to the Ice Warriors in there. Sadako, nice observation. I think that's when I was talking about the Doctor's relationship to
it was
time.
It was.
Nice character development, rare for the Doctor from Matt Pounder, and this is undoubtedly why I like this episode so much, because character development is rare for the Doctor, and it's funny. I seem to like every story where there's character development for the Doctor.
Yeah. That's important.
As long as it wasn't fugitive of a Dazoon. Obviously, I'm still waiting for Capaldi to regenerate. Wink, wink.
Yes, wink, wink.
Right.
Yes.
So on that basis, you know, but yeah, Waters at Mars and Massacre Part 4.
Yes,
unmissable both. In my view.
Great development there.
I can't read that out.
You mean that one? Or this one?
That one especially. If Adelaide hadn't taken things into her own hands to set time right, would we have needed Sapphire and Steel to right on a kill mission to get the Doctor? Now, those are two assassins I might have some confidence in.
Yes, indeed.
Hello, we're Sapphire and Steel. We're coming for you, Doctor. Yeah, panic.
Yes. Rather good with Sapphire and Steel.
Joanna Lumley's gonna get you.
Oh, mind you, there's much worse ways to go than Joanna Lumley getting you. To be fair,
if anyone's actually watched Sapphire and Steel, it's a very, very strange series. Where each individual story had a completely different tone. So, in actual fact, there isn't a single Sapphire and Steel because they were different every time, but there were mysterious cosmic enforcers.
Yes, indeed.
So like the Doctor, but without the niceness.
Yes, definitely without the niceness.
And also on the other channel.
Yes, shh, it's on the other side.
Yeah,
shh.
Right, in any case. Sadako, I never quite got Adelaide's suicide. The import of Web of Time seems all far too new for her to compel her to suddenly not want to survive. I think she was in shock on all levels.
Yeah.
That was not the day that she got up to with a piece of toast that day.
Yeah.
She wasn't expecting a carrot to bring down the entire base.
Well, yes.
To be fair, I don't think a lot of commanders would have anticipated that threat.
Yeah, it's not right up there with your threat analysis, is it? Really?
And then her friends have died.
Yeah.
Even when she pretended not to like.
Yep.
Yeah. So complex relationships turning into into wreckage around her with people that she spent the last few months doing her damnedest to keep alive.
Yeah.
You know, and on top of it all, yanked away by a madman, magically brought back to Earth. And after being told that she had to die so her daughter could do important things, and now being told, well, it'll work out another way.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll work
out.
And
she just went, I'm not having it.
Yeah.
I'm not having this. I'm not having you swan up in your blue box and trash my family's destiny. Bang!
There you go.
Was it sold as well as it could have been if the show was going out for adults, not for family? No,
Yeah,
I mean, you could have ramped up the mental crisis aspect, but she did it quietly and dignity behind the door.
Yep.
And a lot of people actually don't show their mental anguish
No.
when they contemplate or commit suicide. A lot of the people, I was completely shocked to hear a friend commit suicide because they actually seemed really friendly or whatever the last time we saw them. It wasn't only just a few days ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
So people can be strange.
Yep, certainly
especially when they're contemplating their own self-destruction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, the doctor had gone too far, says Islin. And she's just, that's the whole point. Yep. Was the suicide appropriate for a family show? I think we just kind of touched on that. I think it was done in a way that was appropriate, but maybe didn't make it as emotionally compelling as it might have been otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a suicide. What do you want?
Well, yeah.
So, followed by a fun episode with a heart-touching ending.
Well, okay. Well, yeah.
There's a bit of dissonance between those two comments. I still don't see it as monstrous of him to want to save lives, even if it's a bit of dickish. It wasn't about him saving lives.
No, it was him going a bit too. It was
about him proving a point to time itself.
Basically.
Yeah. You could see the way the doctor was talking to Adelaide and the others. I've saved some little people now and again.
Yeah.
He's so bored by humans needing their lives saved in a way, but he's reacted against it. He's having a crisis. He's had enough of this shit.
Yeah, that's it.
And finally, he realised the only person telling him the rules that he can't do things, the only person left is him.
Yep.
He's the only person making these rules apply to him. And he does a very foolish thing. He decides to try and do without the rules, and then he learns why he needed those rules after all.
Yeah, always need rules.
I mean, it's a very touching error in a way.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, look, we need to try and get some sort of summary going on here. Firstly, Gobby, what have you got to say that we haven't said so far about Wars and Mars?
I don't know. I think we pretty much. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it. I mean, it was very interesting to see the Doctor become what he became. When he stopped becoming the good Doctor and became, well, all intents and purposes, a terrifying monster with unlimited power, and that was good to see. And it was good to see the realization on his face that no matter what he did, time has a fixed point. Then time will make a fixed point happen. You know what I mean? It was poignant, and to see him when he realized after the she committed suicide that there was no way he could change things, and then sees the Ood and realizes that the end is coming. That was special. It really was, and it's why I love this episode, because it does do that rare thing, as we've touched on before, where we actually have character development on the Doctor himself, and so it's a special episode, and that's why I love it so much. Absolutely love it. So there you go.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gobby. GoldenagedGeek.
I feel that touching on the point of the character development for the Doctor, although it's never explicitly said, and that's also what this episode does so well, is that it shows you the Doctor doing all these things, and then you make your own analysis of the reasoning behind that. And I think one reason why he's doing all this, why he is trying to get back at time, is because he knows, because of the comment made at the end of the last episode, that his death is going to be arriving pretty soon. So he is trying to challenge the system of time in order to see if he can save lives that should be lost because of the events that happened in the original timeline. So I think if the Doctor is able to break that mold of what time says should and should not happen, then maybe he will be able to save his own life in the process. I think maybe that's his reasoning also behind that.
That's a good point. That's
if he can save their lives, what's stopping him from saving his own? I think that is also...
Well, it's interesting. It was stubbornness in a way, isn't it? Because all the way through this episode, all the Doctor has to do is turn around and walk in the other direction.
Yep.
And he ultimately tries it, but can't live with it.
Yep.
So what is stopping him? Well, he's stopping him. I mean, in fact, that's the whole point about this. What this breakthrough becomes a nightmare for him.
Yep.
It's all about him realizing that he is the person stopping himself.
Yeah. And he's the only one who can.
That's what's so fascinating about this story, is it gives you such a look under the hood, you know. Sorry, please continue.
No, and I think also if you look at a story like The City on the Edge of Forever from Star Trek, it explores the idea of, you know, carrying out a good act doesn't necessarily mean that good things are going to come from it. And you have the Doctor, who isn't necessarily trying to take life. In fact, he's trying to, you know, save life. And same as what Kirk did in that episode. But ultimately, the lives have to be lost because bad things do happen. But there is a reason for that. And, you know, and if you think back to School Reunion, when Sarah Jane says, you know, pain, loss, they define us as much as happiness and laughter.
Yeah.
So, you know, it really much tackles the idea of humans have this, you know, fear of loss and grief over that. But it is what defines us. And again, this element is explored loads of times in Doctor. If you think back to the Lazarus experiment, he talks about the value of life and how you should appreciate your life and go out there and try and do as much as you can. And it's all about the fragility of it and growing to accept that there is vulnerability, and that shouldn't necessarily be prevented, because the fact that our lives are so, you know, vulnerable, it could end at any moment, does give us that strive to go out there and do the best.
Agreed.
You know, if I think about science fiction involving time travel, there are essentially two different approaches. The first is that if you go back in time and change anything, everything's unraveled. The second is if you go back in time, you find it impossible to change anything.
Yep.
Those are the two approaches that science fiction takes. And by coming up with a fixed point in time and bringing that in this story, but I don't think it was mentioned until then. I think this is the first story a fixed point has ever made a plot point. Am I right about that?
I think so.
I think they may well be. Yeah. So by bringing in this idea of a fixed point of time, Russell allows himself to have the best of both worlds. Because he's saying that 99.9% of the time, you know, whether the Doctor buys an apple off a market stall in Elizabethan England or not makes no difference to the flow of time whatsoever.
Yeah.
And that if you do change how something went before, time will kind of smooth it over.
Yeah.
So the same thing just kind of happens anyway. You know, and so it sort of suggests there's an immutability to time. But then when you get these fixed points of time, that's when anything you change will shatter the structure.
Yeah.
But that's also why if you wanted to damage time, these fixed points are exactly what you target.
Yeah. So it gives you that as well.
If you target a fixed point, you actually can make a difference. Whereas otherwise, time would just reassert the pattern of events. So, I mean, I think that's kind of how Doctor Who's kind of approached the whole thing. It's a huge cheat, but, you know, it allows the show to have all the cards and to play whichever one suits the story best.
Yeah.
And on that basis, that's why Russell T Davies was a genius showrunner, because instead of boxing himself in, he always makes himself options.
Yeah, it gives himself.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it gives himself.
And I think this story was how he decided to play some of his cards to set up his finale. And I suppose we better move on towards it, because there will be an end of this stream, but not before we reach The End of Time.
Oh, superb again, sir. Superb link again. Superb link
But we
again.
better do some scores just before we
Yes,
go there.
we best do.
I'll kick off. I don't care. A+.
Yep, I agree. A+.
This is one of the
A+.
greatest stories Russell T Davies
Yep.
given Doctor Who.
That's 3 A+ on the panel.
Its faults are minimal.
Yeah, it's just brilliant. It is just a
You
brilliant.
know, I mean, if we consider all the comments that generated, and the only negative comment was that the Bernie rocket tire tracks on the robot were a bit silly.
That was it. You know what I mean?
Right.
That says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, this story's a winner.
Oh,
If that's the biggest problem, this story is a giant winner.
Oh, it is. It's in that club that we have, isn't it? Those episodes or show to get
Wars
people
of Mars is so good. The only question that remains is, did End of Time live up to it?
Ooh, there's an interesting question posed.
Now, I've done a lot of the introducing here, so I'd like to turn this over. Which one of you wants to talk us into the End of Time?
Let's give Golden Age Geek a shot at running in. You talk us in, sir.
What was this story all about?
Yes.
So we begin the episode with the Doctor arriving on the Ood home planet, where he discovers, after he engages in a ceremony with the Ood, that the Master is in fact returning. And we see this back on Earth. We see the Doctor's, the Master's wife from Series 3 being taken into a room where some sort of cult has been formed who absolutely respect and worship the Master, which is quite weird to think about because the Master to the rest of the human race was just the Prime Minister. Like, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, if you consider, like, the Boris Johnson cult, like, getting all these magical artifacts.
Do not speak live on air of a Boris Johnson cult. Nadine might be listening. And then if you're really unlucky, Edwina Carey will come and egg you because she's a John Major groupie.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely. Well, for good reason, apparently.
Tories and shagging? Are you joking?
No, I'm not having
if they spend a day, they all bang each other up with bum. It's a rare day in Westminster. Randy goats for a lot of them. They get on and run the damn country.
Oh dear, well, this went off on a tangent.
Sorry. Back to Prime Ministers. We're all a bit sensitive about Prime Ministers this week. Back to you. So I'm terrible. I'm terrible.
Yes, carry on, Golden.
I'm going to mute myself a bit, right?
So after the ritual has been performed, the Master returns, but then there's like an instant bait and switch because it turns out the Master's wife knew about this, so she's created some sort of plan to prevent him from coming back. So she does some shenanigans and he ends up disappearing. But we know that the threat is still out there because back on the Ood home planet, the Doctor has some visions of the Master. He very much feels his presence, and that's something that was established earlier on, that Time Lords have this ability of connecting with each other subconsciously, and that's demonstrated here. So the Doctor, obviously, being the hero that he is, he rushes back to the TARDIS. He doesn't want the Master to harm any of the humans, but unfortunately, by the time he arrives, the Master has already, escaped his confined to the prison, which did kind of confused me quite a bit because this is the TARDIS we're talking about. So I've always thought, shouldn't he have arrived, before that event occurred? But going back to the previous episode with the idea of fixed points in time, perhaps the Doctor's knowledge of the fact that the Master was escaping from this prison, perhaps
creates a paradox where he's locked into those time coordinates. Yes.
Yeah, because he couldn't have then gone back beforehand. Otherwise, the event,
because it's psychic communication breaching the barriers of time.
Yeah. So the Doctor now is on a search for the Master. So of course, Wilf, we see him again. He has some weird encounters. He keeps on seeing this mysterious woman on the TV. She just keeps on popping up. Who is she? And that's something that's never properly answered. And I do think that again, leaving it up to the audience is a good choice. And so Wilf, obviously, he back at the start of series 4, he was, pushing Donna to go find the Doctor, go find him, run off with him, and he's very much in the position that she was in because, of course, she's had her mind wiped. So he gets his little band together, his little band of mates, and they have a nice little adventure trying to, track down the Doctor. And the Master we see now is just this weird sort of monster mash. He's just an absolute monster. Like, he really is. He's going up to food vans, just
his skull's literally growing out of his head, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then he's gained these superhuman abilities to jump. And exactly how he's devouring people, we really don't want to see on screen, I think.
Dinner time.
Yeah,
dinner
exactly.
time.
Well, we can see what he does. We can see what he does to a chicken.
Well, indeed.
Oh, God.
He's
not going to go off on a tangent again, is he?
Keep it focused. Keep going. You're doing great.
So this guy, raids a burger van. He's shoving his face full of burgers and hot dogs, all that. It's very weird, very unsettling.
Dripping fat, hot, dripping meat.
Yeah. Strange.
By the time the Doctor gets there, he is not just eating all the food, he's now eating all the humans, and all of their flesh has just been torn off, Nice. And we have this very tension-filled scene where the Master is banging on a bin, and it creates this, sort of ripple effect, and the Doctor's hearing it from far away, and they have sort of a little chase, and unfortunately, the Master, because he can like jump and fly now, he gets out of there. But this is when the Doctor...
But hold on, this is a fascinating moment though. This meeting, because this is the first time that the Doctor realizes that the drumming in the Master's head is not madness.
Nope.
He realizes it's something real.
Yes.
And that shocks him greatly. Because what could be doing that?
Yeah, what could be putting that drumming there? Indeed. Oh, what a question.
Please carry on.
Yes, carry on. You're doing a great job, mate. This is brilliant.
I just didn't want to miss that because that's a really key bit of the story.
The
Doctor really realizes that the Master is not what he thought he was.
No.
So the Doctor manages to meet up with Wilf again and his friends. We have a little funny moment there where all of his friends are fanboying out over the Doctor.
What's it called? The Silver Cloak, isn't it?
Yeah,
Wilf's web of spies across London, the Silver Cloak.
Yeah, the Silver Cloak. Yes.
And that Minnie, she's trouble. You got to watch out for Minnies in the supermarket, I can tell you that. If you're an older gentleman who still has an attractive enough cut to his jib, you've got to watch out for Minnies.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Indeed.
All that to look forward to.
Yeah. Speaking of someone like Minnie, there was actually a friend of mine told me a story that something that happened to him a few weeks ago. So he was in a shop and there was a couple of elderly women and he wanted to, move past them. So he said, "Oh, excuse me, can I just, squidge past here?" And after he walked past them, he heard the two women say to each other, "Oh, he can squeeze me anytime." And he was just freaked out by that.
There you go. You see that. And hang on, we've got to put. I'm sorry about tangent. Sadako. The Silver Cloak bunch were pointless and cringe.
Well, there you go.
I would rather spend all afternoon singing songs with the Silver Cloak than have to listen to a minute of Susie Kempner play Doomsday.
Sure.
So let's not talk about cringe. They were lovely.
Nah, they were. Oh, they were great.
So the Doctor and Wilf then go to a nearby cafe where they have a very, in-depth discussion about regeneration and how it's more than what the audience just sees. It is, the psychological impacts of it, are very long-lasting. You have this character who can regenerate and, absolutely great. The show can live on and whatever, but the character itself the character of the Doctor feels as though a part of himself dies each time he regenerates.
Yeah.
Because the Doctor, although the Doctor has the same sort of sense of morality in every incarnation, the personality is very different. So sometimes the Doctor will be, very whimsical and, light-hearted, but then you'll go into a more sort of dark and brooding incarnation, and that aspect of yourself has just been completely pushed to the side. It's nowhere to be seen anymore.
It's very affecting, actually, that whole restaurant scene with Will.
Oh, it's
because
so
I
moving.
don't think the Doctor had ever previously said in such clear terms that emotionally regeneration feels like dying.
Yeah.
And it's never really been put like that.
No.
You're kind of like, he's got a different personality, but he's still the same. He still feels like the same person. He's just expressing himself differently, kind of thing. Like there's a core to the Doctor that the different personalities show different aspects of, but ultimately he's one being, because it's the same being. But to then hear that perspective, that each time, whereas personalities of the Doctor experience death, it is kind of like the Doctor continues, but the Doctor is a stranger to himself.
Yeah.
And you could tell why David Tennant doesn't want to go. I mean, why the 10th Doctor rather doesn't want to go. Because who would want to experience regeneration? Isn't like having your life saved. It's like sacrificing your life instead.
Yeah. It's
not really fun.
No. And that scene in the cafe is just it's just beautiful. It's brilliant. The way the two characters interact, it's just lump in your throat. It's one of those little. I'll admit it. It made me feel a little bit teary that day, because you could see the sadness in both of them. Wilf feels like he's losing a really good friend, and it's really it's a moving piece. It really is.
Sadako's just said, I'm undecided on how explicitly it should be put as a death.
Yeah.
I suppose, it's all about how the Doctor faces it as a death.
Yeah.
I mean, the Doctor's never had a regeneration which was completely unexpected.
No.
But he always had some kind of time to come to some kind of preparedness to face it.
Yeah. They do.
William Hartnell took an episode out of the 10th Planet completely to get ready.
Yeah.
The second Doctor had an unknown amount of time in the time vortex before he turned up as John Pertwee.
Yeah.
The third Doctor also had an unspecified amount of time in the time vortex, travelling back from the Spider Planet before he collapsed on the floor of the Unit Laboratory.
Yep, this is true.
In fact, there are some fan stories have been written about that and suggesting that he had a really horrible time in the time vortex, dying of radiation poisoning.
Oh,
the fourth Doctor, he faced it. He faced it well, didn't he? But he knew that rather like the 10th Doctor, the fourth Doctor knew his end was coming because the Watchers tipped him off. So, the fifth Doctor had a really bad day.
Very bad day. Yeah.
The sixth Doctor fell over and banged his head on the console. That probably was a bit embarrassing.
Yeah, that was a bit. Yeah.
But not as embarrassing as getting shot down by some Asian punks in San Francisco.
Well, yeah, there is that as well. Yeah, that was embarrassing.
But then nine fully knows what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here we are with 10. So I mean that's the history of regeneration. But up until this point, it had never been described as a death.
No.
But how we face death, well, guys and girls. Extremely pertinent question for yours truly.
Indeed.
Hopefully setting a reasonable example, but there's no right and wrong way.
No.
But when I think, I hate to do this, but I am going to. When I think of the power of a Doctor,
Yeah.
And the way that Whittaker's Doctor prepared for the change, I actually think that was one of the nicest things about her.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just really happy to see her on the way out the door.
I think it may have been that.
It's more than likely. Like,
Yes.
you're going now. But at the same time, I did find that quite charming. The way she was sort of ready to let go. So
yeah,
I'll give a little bit of credit there. Right, and now I really have derailed, haven't I? Sorry.
No.
Where the heck were we? The Doctor and Wilfred chatting in the cafe.
Yeah.
But then this is where things. Of course, he sees Donna across the way.
Yeah.
But this is where things start to go helter skelter. Should I pick up, or you want to carry on, GoldenagedGeek?
I don't mind, whatever you prefer.
Oh, I'll have a little. I'll let.
He's gonna go for it. He's gonna go for it.
So we've got the industrialist with this Genesis Vault that he thinks is going to bring his daughter eternal life.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's a couple of aliens who are getting ready to nick it back because it's been stolen out of a crashed spacecraft, like a lot of this stuff that the humans salvage when it lands on their planet. But what this machine actually is a medical device.
Just a simple, yeah.
Brilliant. It's a wonderful medical device because it keeps everybody healthy all the time over an entire planet.
Awesome device.
Yes. As long as you're the right species.
Well, yes.
Because if you're not the right species, you will be.
Yes. You don't have a choice. You have no choice in these things.
There's a little bit of a kicker in this wonderful immortality device. And by a series of unfortunate events, somebody thought it would be a smart idea to ask the Master what to do with it.
Oh, dear. Yes.
So they wheel him in Hannibal Lecter style because they've captured him with their helicopter, haven't they? You see at the end of that.
Oh, yes. They did.
Oh yeah, Governor, I could make this do what you want to do. Honest, just let me at it. Yeah. And that goes terribly wrong.
Who could have possibly seen that?
Who could imagine? And while the Doctor and Wilf are attempting a daring infiltration of the facility,
yes,
they are too late to stop the Master pulling it off, and he puts his own pattern into the machine.
Yes.
And we get possibly the bumping down the step, worst rescue ever. That's next part. But we get possibly the weirdest of all Doctor Who cliffhangers.
Well, yeah, it was a bit just
because
hundreds and hundreds of Johnsons.
Suddenly, every human being's head starts shaking left and right uncontrollably. In a way to mask the visual effects changeover, as damn everybody, man, woman, old, young, fat, thin, whatever you look like, you don't anymore. You are now the Master, because the Master is everyone.
Oh.
While all this has been going on, there's been this voice narrating events, letting us know that this is a big day in the destiny of both the Doctor and humanity.
Indeed.
And just as it's revealed that every human being is now being transformed into the Master through the use of this device, the narrator is revealed, the camera pulls back, and it is Rassilon. And we are in the Panopticon, and we are in Gallifrey, and it's a room full of Time Lords, and it's for the fate of time itself. Tune in next week, everyone. The Time Lords are back.
Oh, what a great cliffhanger.
Awesome. Double whammer.
Absolutely.
Gets you with the left, gets you with the right. You know, pop. Best kind. I always like a double whammer cliffhanger.
I mean, it was a brilliant cliffhanger. It really was.
I especially like a double hanger cliffhanger that delivers. And isn't just a fake out for it all to magically be done away immediately at the start of next week.
Yeah, this is it, yes.
Chibnall.
Yes, him. Yes.
Yes.
Him. Yes.
You know, because if we're talking about the best, this is how you get it right. Epic stakes. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was Christmas Day. Enjoy your turkey, everyone. We'll see you on New Year.
Oh yes. And that was it, ready to go. Oh,
There's such a lot just in part one of End of Time.
loads.
So I think we're gonna have to unpick this a bit before we move on.
Yes.
So let's wind it all the way back. The Master's Cult. Let's start with that. How did that work for you, Gobby?
It was a bit weird. It was a bit
Certainly was weird.
very weird. Very. I could see how it was. Oh, it was difficult because it was the way it was written into the story. You could see it, but it just didn't feel right. You know, it's like I don't know. It's one of those things that I didn't think that's how the Master would come back. To be fair, they required a cult to summon him back. You know,
With special juices.
Yes, we're very, very special. Well, I'm not even going to go where those special juices come from. I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole.
Special juices.
With special juices. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'm just going to leave that as it is. But it's just like it didn't feel the way that you would see the Master come back. It felt a little bit too
a touch contrived.
Yes, very contrived. It was like, oh, let's make it slightly different from all the other times. I don't know.
But effective.
Oh, don't get me wrong, it worked.
It let you know that this, especially with the wrong juice being applied at the wrong time.
Well, yes.
It let you know that this was not the Master that you've seen before. This was a very dangerous version of the Master.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It turned out to.
The sort of satanic, demonic, kind of culty kind of trappings.
Yeah.
Kind of let you know that the Master is so evil that he veers into the supernatural.
Yeah, I suppose that's where you can see where they're going with it.
It's certainly establishing that this is not a good character.
No.
It's a bad thing that he's alive again.
Yes, but it's
so I think it worked well like that, and I also liked. I liked the way that Lucy Saxon, went all out to do the right thing. But I think Sadako's just said, the way she was treated, it was a bit tasteless. Yes, it was.
Yeah, very.
But then all these women died, didn't they? All of them.
All of them.
So don't be the Master's groupie, girls. It doesn't.
No, it really doesn't work. No, it's not a good career choice.
You might be the cool guy for 1 month down the club, but buy out, you pay for it later.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
But it brought it back, and I feel the establishment of threat in this episode is a masterclass in how to build threat through a story.
Yeah, it's very clever. I mean, I said the ending where everybody becomes the Master is just that was just really, really good, really, really good. Must have been good for the special effects guys to work on that one.
Oh, it took best part of a week apparently.
I can see that.
John Sims had to be in costume in each of those positions, and it all had to be composited together. It was something like 150 composites in the one shot, I think.
Yeah, you can.
So that's 150 costume and position changes that all have got to be exactly matched up.
Yeah,
very complex shot.
Oh, you can see there was a lot of work in that. There was a lot of work in that.
A lot of love in it. Let's call it what it is. A lot of love.
Yeah.
Same thing with Panopticon, brought back with love.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100% with love, and that was another, as you said,
adoration even.
Oh God, yeah, it was like
one thing about that shot is it was determined, not to make the Time Lord look stupid.
No, it was to make them look
with those silly collars and what. So it really gave them power, imposing power.
Yes, it made them
let you know, that they've been hidden, but here they are. That they, as a force, they still exist.
Yeah, and they're menacing.
So all of this leads us into part 2, and the first thing is, the trying to escape from that situation. Now the Master's very much taken over.
Completely taken over.
And this is achieved with the help of the shimmer screened aliens who really Vingocci, I think they are, with the green spikes.
I think it's
Vingocci, is it something like that?
Something like that.
And
Bimbocci. That's it. Yeah,
Yes.
Bimbocci. Yeah.
And they've got this ship which is rather reminiscent of Starbug from Red Dwarf, but
Just
a bit
slightly.
bigger.
Just
It's a bit bigger.
Bit bigger.
And they I've parked out on the dark side of the moon.
Of course.
So they just have a regroup because what the hell can they do? You know, after the Doctor's wheeled down the steps in the worst rescue ever. You know, they just what do they do? And Wolf is a bit shocked.
Yeah.
Because he's never seen the Doctor like this. He's never seen the Doctor without a damn clue what to do.
Yeah, he's never seen the Doctor completely stunned into not knowing.
And we get these quite in-depth character moments between Wolf and the Doctor.
Yeah.
Where Wolf is talking about his time serving in Palestine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know how he served with honour, but he never killed a man. But there's no shame in that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was brilliantly done.
But Wolf is trying to persuade the Doctor that he needs to act against the Master because people have got to be brought back. They can't be left like this. Everyone can't be left as a version of the Master.
Yeah.
But he's saying, don't you dare put him above them. And he wants the Doctor to take his gun.
Yes.
But the Doctor says, I will not do it. I will never take that gun.
Such a, yeah.
Wolf is rather taken aback by this and has a hard time with it.
Yeah, he really does, because he sees it from a soldier's point of view, and not necessarily get why the Doctor's doing what he's doing.
But just as he's coming to terms with it, a voice comes over the radio. Our master calleth. And oh God, sorry, time prophet, John White. What if we all changed into Gobby guy? Britain would be great again.
Yes, Britain would be great again.
Right, so yeah, that's answered that question.
Yeah, there you go. We'd be in a much better place than we were before.
And very good medics.
Yes,
we'd be a nation of medics. We'd heal the planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be awesome. Let's make it happen. Gobby, stick yourself in that machine.
Yes, all right.
Sorry, I back to character moments with the Doctor and Wolf. A voice comes over the radio, and it's the Master. And he's letting the Doctor know that with the resources of the entire planet at his disposal, he's tracking the signal inside his own head. And he reaches out and he sends this signal, and there is contact. And then we have a scene in the council chamber of Gallifrey where Rassilon is discussing the situation with his fellow Time Lords.
Yep.
And we discover they are still in the Time War. They are trapped in the final day of the Time War. And the absolute destruction of Gallifrey is hours away at best.
Yep.
And they're looking for a way out. And it's Rassilon who comes up with the idea of using the Doctor and the Master, because they are the only Time Lords not present on Gallifrey at that time.
Yeah, because they're white. Yep, that's right.
So Rassilon puts the drum into the Master's head.
Yep.
And when they then receive the signal back from Earth, they realise they have a point of contact and a way out of the time lock.
Yes, the way out.
But to do that, the link must be made real. It must be made tangible. It must be made physical. So what else does Rassilon do? He chucks a diamond at it.
Of course.
It's the Time Lord way.
Yep, absolutely.
But not just any old diamond, of course, a diamond that could only come from the planet Gallifrey, for it is a white point star.
A white point star.
And as the Master relays the news back to the Doctor, but what was found, what was sent to the planet, was a white point star, his face just collapses in shock.
Because he knows.
You can see Tennant's acting here is superb. His pulse rate goes up. He's palpably palpitating.
Oh yeah.
He's having a visible, visceral shock reaction because all of those pretty little lies the Doctor has told himself for the last few hundred years. Oh dear.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Not quite the last.
He wasn't quite the truth.
No.
Because rather than being the great civilization the Doctor remembers, these Time Lords, from the heart of the Time Lord War, are the greatest monsters of them all.
Mm.
And so, despite what he said to Wilf just before the Master's call, his hand reaches out, he grabs the gun, he lifts it to a ready position, and you see this means business. Because for one time the Doctor's got no rules, it's with his own people to stop them being the monsters they became. Oh my God, stakes!
Oh, unbelievable. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This was just sublime.
So then we enter the final act of the story.
Yes.
As the Doctor seizes control of the Vingochi spaceship and turns it into a weapon aimed straight at the mansion on planet Earth and sets the boosters to full. He's coming in hot.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's coming, and he's coming in hot.
Amen.
Get on the guns, Wolf. Get with it. Yeah, Battle of Britain, here we go. Pew, 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 pew. Do me that spinny, turny stuff. How many missiles? 48,000. Keep going, because the Master's firing every missile on the damn planet at him. But he's coming in now. Those thrusters are burning hard. The shuttle's coming zooming in over the mansion, and the Doctor, he jumps out the bloody thing.
Well, of course. Most logical thing to do.
Falls through the air, smashes through the giant glass window at the top of the ceiling, smacks down onto a marble floor. Somehow he's dead and broken.
No. Just does the superhero landing.
Because, that Time Lord energy's up, baby. And it's time for a grand confrontation, just as the Master is opening the portal. And Rassilon is stepping through, flanked by a woman who will not show her face.
Indeed. Oh.
And but it's not just Rassilon.
No.
It's not just Rassilon. It's all the Time Lords. It's not just Time Lords. It's the planet Gallifrey itself. And where is Gallifrey? Gallifrey is turning up here, right now, in the sky.
It's there. It's appearing.
And it's not just the Time Lords who are going to come back. It's every other bastard who is in that damn war.
Yes. All of them. The Scarlet Degradation of a Nightmare Child of a Neen Wers and Never Wers and all the rest of them. Bringing back all the evils.
The Doctor confronts Rassilon. He confronts him because he knows what his actual plan is and he forces him to admit it. The Time Lords are going to ascend to become beings of pure energy and they're going to let the created order go to hell.
Yep.
Every other race in the universe could pay the price if the Time Lords can survive the Time War. That is Rassilon's final solution.
That's it. That's what he wants.
Well, the Doctor's here to tell him, but it's not fucking acceptable.
No, not having that. Not having that at all.
And then the Master says, but this is glorious. Let me too ascend with you. To which Rassilon replies, you're a piece of shit on my shoe that I used. No way.
Oh, the deflation of him.
But it turned out to be a very bad mistake because what happens then is that the Master immediately sides with the Doctor for their joint shared aim of getting that bastard.
Yes. And the dream team are together finally.
And now Master's pulling in his superhuman shooty powers. Get on your knees, Rassilon. You did this to me. You used me all my life. Of a bang, the gun goes off, blows up the generator, and all flung back into the time war, leaving the Doctor in a panting pile on the floor. But he survived. They've gone. Everyone's back to being human, and he's won. He can't believe it.
Yeah,
He's
well.
like, that was close. And then what happens?
Oh, dear. Yes, 4 times.
He turns with dread, and there's Wilf in the control booth, which is about to flood with lethal radiation. And the only way to save Will's life is to go into the other booth and take the radiation off him instead.
Oh. And that scene with that speech.
Having won that victory, and Wilf said, leave me, I'm an old man, I've had my time. Now, if it was Jodie Whittaker's, all right, cheers, then, bye. She's gone.
Yeah, she'd left.
She'd gone.
Yeah, she'd bye.
Yeah, well, you are drain on resources, to be fair. Can't keep your old age pension up. It's best you told him.
Yeah, to be fair, you've
if you came out the door, I'd give you a pill on that kind of progressive. Bye.
Yes, bye-bye.
No, that's not what happened.
No.
It said this is the real Doctor. This
Proper
is the
Doctor.
character that we know, that we love, and we follow this show all our lives because we adore so much.
Yeah.
And in that moment, what else can he do but the right thing?
Yep.
To atone for his sins and his hubris and his pride and how far he went in the waters of Mars. This is the price he must pay.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
despite Will's protestations, he opens the door, he pushes the button, and he takes that radiation all through his body, and it leaves him crippled in agony on the floor. And then he gets up and comes out again.
Of course. Yes.
Which is a bit surprising, honestly. But, you know, it turns out the regeneration's already started, because, look, his face is no longer cut up.
No. It's,
but he's looking at his hand, it's a bit glowy, and he goes, okay, I think there's a clock ticking.
Yes.
Then we have 10 minutes of saying goodbye to everybody, and then it's the end of the episode. Bye. At the end.
Yes.
No, we're doing regeneration. Because
yes.
I have a feeling our audience tonight isn't going to want me to detail every single bit of all the goodbyes.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not. Well, you know, we were talking about. I don't like the goodbye.
But when it comes down to it, season 4.5 ends the same as season 4.
Yeah.
With the Doctor alone and sad in the TARDIS, in flight, in the time vortex.
Yeah.
But he's put it off as long as he can. He can put it off no longer. Here it comes. He could have done so much more. But this is what he gets. This is what his lot in life is. Until 2023, where he gets to come back, but he doesn't know that yet.
Yeah, he ain't. No, don't know that yet.
And finally, the Doctor says, I don't want to go. But he lets go. The energy takes over. The transformation begins. The TARDIS itself starts exploding with the immensity of the energy being unleashed. And in the suddenly it's Matt Smith.
Matt Smith, indeed.
Who's got an Adam's apple, so he's not a girl. But he's still not ginger. And that was the end of the David Tennant era.
Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely amazing. I mean, the one thing with the old I Don't Want to Go, there were a lot of Doctor Who fans who I think shouted, we don't want you to go either.
Of course they did.
Because he was such a popular Doctor. I mean, to say how popular is, my wife hates everything sci-fi, but even she watched the David Tennant era because she just liked him as an actor and still does now. Still thinks he's the greatest actor ever lived or whatever. But It
Well,
just shows.
It's funny how well Doctor Who does when the character is played by a fairly sexy heterosexual man.
Funny that, isn't it?
Isn't
Funny
it
that.
funny how much mass appeal the show has? It's odd. I'm just like, how do we start to sum this up? Because knowing that this being 4.5 as well, I figured that we would have a bit more runtime to play with this stream. So I do want us to sort of have a talk in general about how successful was RTD's era in the context of him coming back. But we need to resolve End of Time first.
Yes.
I've never really understood fandom's reaction to this story.
Because it's a bit of a Marmite one.
It really is a Marmite one.
Yeah.
And some people really don't seem to like it at all.
Yeah.
And I think, maybe that feeling of schmaltz with the last sort of 10 minutes going on and on.
Yeah,
is it over yet? Maybe there isn't such a thing as overstaying your welcome. And I suppose if he wasn't the dog's breakfast doctor for you, it was a bit much. But I still don't think that explains how fandom doesn't seem to really rate End of Time.
Yeah.
I'm open to being enlightened because I don't really get it. There's not a lot of things about Doctor Who fandom I could say I don't really get at all, but I don't understand why End of Time isn't more beloved. Because I struggle to think of a more bold set of ideas put into any story. But I've said quite a bit. Let's go back to Sadako. No, not Sadako. Sorry, the Golden Age Geek.
Yes.
How do you want to sum this up? Because I've just monstered part 2 there. So
I think with what you were saying to some of the fans' reaction to this episode initially, and they didn't really like it, I think it comes from the fact that this episode and this story is very much character based, and there isn't a lot of grandiose action set pieces. It is focusing more in on the characters. So fans like us who are there for the character development and exploring the personality of the Doctor and just him as a character, we're going to really appreciate that. But I think a lot of normies, a lot of general audiences, they are sort of captivated by those sort of big set pieces.
I grant you that, but I'm not talking about the general audience. I'm talking about fandom.
Yeah, I mean there are some things like the extended sort of goodbye. The collection of scenes. When you have to think of it, it was only a few episodes ago that we had Journey's End, where they also had a big sort of a long goodbye. So maybe the fans felt it was a bit repetitive.
Yeah.
You
have Mickey and Martha now being together, which I don't really think was established beforehand. So that just kind of came out of nowhere.
Oh yeah, well, everyone gets a bit, don't they? So how do you do a scene? You could do a scene where you do one with Mickey, and you could do a scene where you do one with Martha, but you haven't got. Even Russell was like not wanting to overdo it too much. So how do you put them together? There's your answer.
Well, it turns out actually, I don't know if you've seen the Sarah Jane Adventures, but it's revealed in one of those episodes that not only did he go and visit all those companions, but he went to every single classic companion and visited them as well. So it was even longer than we had in this episode.
Thank you, small mercies. It's strange. Yeah, it's a bit strange why he needed the urge to go and say goodbye to everybody. He normally doesn't. He's never worried about that before, has he? To be fair, let's be honest.
I think it may be because at this point in time where the rule of 13 regenerations still sort of that was the case before Chibnall and with what Moffat did when he did the regeneration cycle reset. If you think of it from people's perspectives back then, after Matt Smith, that was supposed to be when the Doctor was supposed to just die. So for all intents and purposes, this was the last time he had the chance to say goodbye, because when Matt Smith's incarnation died, that would have been it.
I see your point. You're absolutely right there. I stand corrected. I see your point. Excellent. I never thought of it like that, really. Yes.
And I've always been intrigued with the idea of regeneration. And Moffat had this thing where Moffat did listen to the fans a lot, and he did go into forums and group discussions, and he, wanted to know what the audience's thoughts. And one of the main sort of theories out there that was, generated by the fandom was that experiences from a Doctor's previous regeneration would impact the next. And we saw that, and it was actually, Moffat actually brought that into the story with the girl who died in series 9, where he had Peter Capaldi's face being explained, because there's always a sort of mystery there in season 8 of, why did I choose this face? And it's because of what it represents. It represents that time when the Doctor didn't give up, and he went back and he broke the rule, and he managed to save
which is
someone.
another great example of how a writer can make something out of an actor being cast in 2 roles in the same series. I mean, that's brilliant.
It's very clever.
What writing can do.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's very clever.
But I'm thinking about writing. The roots of End of Time, it's firmly rooted in the Deadly Assassin.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because the Deadly Assassin established 2 things. It's in the Deadly Assassin that the 12 Regenerations rule is brought in.
Yes.
And also that we see the Time Lords in this, as we now think of them.
Yeah.
And the idea of the Time Lords as a bit of a sort of decadent society first came in, which of course this is taken to the extreme by making the Time Lords revealed to have been the biggest monsters of the Time War.
Yeah.
Which I think was a brilliant twist.
Oh, it's a great twist. Fantastic twist.
I think what Russell set up here, as a writer, and I think about what you could have done with the Time Lords from the point that he handed over the show, having brought them back here. I think it's one of the greatest tragedies of New Who, but it has failed the Time Lords so abysmally.
Yeah.
And we will discuss that more next week.
Yes, indeed we shall.
Because probably should have mentioned this at the start, but we got carried away.
Well, we went straight into it. We just went tearing in.
Next week here we're doing our special episode. How we would change series 12. And so discussions of what I would have done with the Time Lords following on from this point, everyone could catch that next week.
Yes, because that'd be interesting.
I hope you find it interesting. It was an experiment, a little one-off.
Why not? Have a go. Have a dabble. Have a dabble.
And then we've got six more series of New Who to get through.
Yes.
Before what we will consider the end.
Yes.
You won't find no series 11 and 12 and 13 reviews out of us.
No. That's no.
We just marked off a void.
Yes, I did actually do reviews on all of those episodes, and I'm not going back over it. I've got enough PTSD as it is. Thanks very much. We'll just leave that.
Exactly. So, but next week we're going to do that. Are you interested, Golden Age Geek, in ideas? Have you got ideas how you'd like to tackle Series 12 different?
Yeah, I have a lot of ideas about how I would
Are you going to get your notebook out, jot some ideas down, and come and join us next week for that one?
Yep.
Awesome.
There you go. Set your diaries, everyone.
Yes, because next week is going to be fun.
Next week it could be different. It's going to be different. But back to the here and now. I mean, what Russell did with the Time Lords here is he took them to the next level, and I'm full of respect for it. And I mean, in terms of action shots, what's more action than a giant planet bearing down on you and everyone losing it in the street?
Oh, yeah.
I love those scenes. I love those disaster scenes. And what's the actor who plays the industrialist? And him and his daughter running out the house, and they've just lost their freaking shit, man.
That's went mental.
Absolutely
mental.
Like, my mind has collapsed.
I
love it. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. So I really felt I was never happy with Russell T Davis's era and the way he wrapped it up.
Oh, yeah, he did it really, really well.
I mean, I was saying to Gobby, I think before the stream, but I do rewatch End of Time. It's one of my more favourite stories.
Yeah.
But I do cut it off. I don't watch for schmaltz at the end.
No.
You know,
No.
once the main story is complete, end tape.
Yes.
You know, and there are a couple other stories I do that. Twice Upon a Time, most especially.
Yes.
It's got a
Yes.
distinctive end point.
Yeah. Yes.
And this is a bit the same. So I mean, I understand fans' criticism with that a bit, but come on, it was earned.
Yeah.
After that run, it was earned.
Yeah.
Are we ready to attempt a score for End of Time?
Oh, well, I'm all ready for a score. If everybody else is ready for a score,
Golden Age Geek, are you ready for a score?
Yep.
Right then, fire away then.
Right. Well, look, I gave A+ to Waters of Mars. I can't think of any reason not to give A+ to End of Time. I just freaking love it, and I've never understood why some people haven't really embraced it. I think it was a marvelous summary of all the themes that the Tenant Doctor was about, and you couldn't have had a better send off.
Yeah, true.
You know, I mean, emotionally, it couldn't have been more complete.
Yeah.
I've got no choice. I have nowhere else to go. I have to put it A+.
Fair enough.
What about you, Gobby?
I'll give it. I mean, I was going to give it just an A, but then I remembered there's two: the cafe scene and the speech near the end with Wilf in the. It takes it to A+. It really does.
The church scene at the start is
another one, another fantastic. It's.
I mean, we haven't even discussed this. Who is this woman? Is it the Doctor's mum?
Well, yes, exactly.
I mean, I think fandom to this day is not 100% clear on that.
I don't think, and it's never been
somebody who the Doctor knew, and somebody whose opinion mattered to him a very great deal.
Yes.
So if it's not his mum, it must be a wife or something.
River Song?
No.
Well, he was married to her, so
maybe it's the Cartmel era Ace.
Could be.
The Cartmel master plan was apparently that Ace was going to become a Time Lord.
I mean, if we go down using the old era that we do not want to speak of, it could be Tecteun, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a way to throw that in there.
What a way to! I mean, as bad as that all was, what a way to throw that character away.
Exactly.
Pathetic, Chibnall, just pathetic. So, you know, we've never had that question answered, but it provides a suitable mystery to the story and an impetus for the Doctor in the final confrontation with Aslan.
Yeah.
So you know, that's excellent.
And sometimes it's good not to know. It's sometimes good not to know who these are.
Golden Age Geek, your score.
I will go for an A because although there are loads of absolutely phenomenal moments, I think it's partly because there are some more episodes that I just get a bit more enjoyment out of, and I think that they are consistently better. So I think I'll give this one an A. But it's very close between an A and an A+.
It's at times like this I wonder what Jack would say.
Yes, because
unfortunately, we have been an extremely unified panel tonight.
Yes, there has been.
Not been much dissent. Words like fag paper between us, you know, about as best as it gets. And I wonder if Jack would suddenly just turn up and just say, "It's not shit," you know. At least give us something to think about, because I noticed Sadako came out of a D.
Yes.
I mean, I would like to know why. Is it just a culmination of a general lack of landing of the whole era for you? Is it something more specific that really you felt the story was some sort of abomination? Get back to me, because I do really want to understand, because I don't get it as to why this story isn't more beloved. But clearly, as a panel, we've all found nothing but merit in it.
Yeah,
and compared to Matt Smith's departure.
Well, yeah. Indeed.
To Capaldi's departure.
Well, yeah, even worse.
I will say though, the circumstances surrounding 11's regeneration were quite but I actually think that the 11th Doctor's to the 12th Doctor's regeneration was the best. And that might be an unpopular opinion there, but the regeneration scene, just as that scene, just take that in isolation. I think that was the best one in my opinion.
We will get there, of course, in 4 weeks' time.
Yeah, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Only a month to go.
Yeah, we'll get there in a month. Yeah,
get there in a month.
All things being equal.
Yes, indeed.
But it's just, I think compared to Eccleston's send off, this was so much more.
Yeah,
because of course it wasn't a response to a crisis situation where the lead actors just quit.
You've got
for
your
whatever the reasons were. Oh, okay.
Yes, there you go. There's
story bit self-indulgent. A lot of the usual RTD cartoonish disregard for logic. It's just this whole era didn't land with you, did it? I'm a bit concerned for you, Sadako, because I mean, if this is what people want more of out of RTD coming back. So I can't see, but you're going to have a good time the next few years, which I think is a great shame. But it's a shame. Yeah, it's a shame.
Bit more. I also think that I've never been that keen on the Master, particularly RTD.
Now there we can align.
Yeah, we can align on that one.
We can align.
Absolutely.
I didn't agree with the choices that were made by RTD with the Master.
No.
But I liked it more here than I did in Sound of Drums, Last of Time Lords, and the reason is that it was getting under the skin a bit, and there were real motivations were starting to emerge.
Yeah,
and it did allow you to see that the Master had been abused by the Time Lords as well.
Yeah.
So you could never let your guard down with the Master.
No,
ever. But even so, a little sympathy for the devil does go a long way.
Sometimes, yeah, indeed it does. Indeed it does.
And I think that was the case here. But I think on that one, the story had no choice but to go forward from what had been done before.
Yeah.
Eastland loves the Master in all incarnations. I don't.
No, yeah. I don't.
I'm
agree with
sorry.
Zach.
I think Sacha Dhawan could have made a fantastic Doctor.
Oh yeah, well, it was bubbling under there, wasn't it, with Sacha?
But he made a terrible decision to become Chibnall's Master.
Yes, unfortunately, sadly, because I think I agree. I think he would have been a.
Because Chibnall just eradicated all the good that had been done.
Yes, well,
not only with the Missy Master, but also the rehabilitation of the Sims Master.
Yeah.
With World Enough in Time, the Doctor Falls. What a waste of Moffat's effort.
Yeah.
But that says so much about Chibnall. Was like, I don't give a shit what you did for me.
Well, no.
Like Moffat's heroic effort to label there to be a Christmas special, and Chibnall threw it back in his face.
Yeah.
So that's that. So I like where the Master goes in this story, and I like. It's not exactly a redemption arc.
No,
because it's not redemption.
No,
but I like the way that the Master becomes the solution.
Yeah, ultimately, yes.
Ultimately,
yes.
This succeeds because of the Master.
Yeah.
So that duality between him and the Doctor, it's very well portrayed in this episode.
Oh, it's very kind of you, Sadako. That's very nice. That's very, very nice. Thank you.
Of course, you've enjoyed the stream. We're lovely people to listen to. But
it's correct.
Extremes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Because at least we're having a good-spirited fan chat.
Yeah.
And all opinions are welcome. Any of you could come on this stream right now and tell me how, despite me just giving it an A+, End of Time was the biggest poop ever. Well, I'd listen. And if you had good points, I'd take them on.
Yeah, because that's how you're supposed to do it.
Exactly what fandom is supposed to be, and that's exactly what we are trying to put into practice with these streams.
We certainly have.
Yeah,
we certainly have done our best. Oh yeah, I go another wonderful watching Back to Chores. Another great stream. Gents.
Well,
Thanks.
we're not quite done yet. We're not quite
No,
done
we've still got
yet.
plenty of
We
time.
want to have this discussion about RTD. So
Yes.
let's turn this to you, Gobby. How do you feel about the first 4 years of New Who, what RTD achieved? And just general thoughts. I mean, how well did it all go, bringing the show back and everything else?
It was a big mountain to climb to bring the show back, and I think he succeeded. Christopher Eccleston was the big name, which drew quite a few people to it. It was RTD's era. I mean, as we said, the last stream we did when it was Series 4 was just the pinnacle. It was just absolutely sublime series. It brought it back. I mean, okay, it's like all other Doctor Who's. It's good and it's bad, but the good massively outweighs the bad. I mean, if we go back over our streams, there's not that many bad episodes.
No, there is.
There isn't really. You know, I think the lowest mark we've got, I think, was a D once.
Yes.
And that was it. And that says a lot. And that really does say a lot. That the show was of that standard. That it was only one episode we marked down as a D, and that says a lot. I enjoyed it. I said,
the show deserved its audience.
Yes, it did. It works hard
and in return, its audience appreciated the show.
Exactly. I mean, and the thing is, when David Tennant did become the Doctor, it did draw a lot more people to Doctor Who. You know, especially the female side of the equation. So, in all, it was the RTD's era. This one, if I had to give it a whole mark for the whole of the era, I'd give it a good solid A. Because it was good, and it was. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are bad points in everything, but this was just sublime, and it reintroduced Doctor Who back into mainstream thought, and that's no easy feat.
The show became a contender again.
Exactly.
You know, the show was nothing. The show was a joke.
Gone. It had gone.
The show was a fading memory.
Yes.
Only kept alive by sad cases like me and Gobby and all the rest of you.
Yes. Definitely.
I don't include Golden Age Geek in that because he wasn't switched on to it then. You know, but I mean, talking about how because we were there at that moment in time, you know, with the show coming back and everything that we watched as fans over the next 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, and End of Time is where the author of all of that puts down the pen and walks out the building.
Yeah.
So there wouldn't have been a Moffat era without RTD.
No, it wouldn't be there. It wouldn't have been there at all.
There wouldn't have been any other era without RTD.
No.
There wouldn't have been a second series of the show without RTD. Because any lesser creative, the show would just have been canned. Yeah. The actors walked.
Yep, it had all been gone and it wouldn't be here.
You know, that fate could have twisted differently so easily.
Indeed. I mean, just here, just a quick mention.
I must mute out briefly.
Yeah, okay, no worries. What I was just going to say is Love and Monsters. Interesting because last night, I went to see Peter Kay live, and he actually talks about being in Love and Monsters, and his exact words are, it was the biggest piece of shit that he'd ever gone into. So he only wanted to go in there to say garlic bread. So, but no, you know, it's Love and Monsters is probably the only real duff one. I mean, what do you think, Golden Age Geek?
Well, this era as a whole, of course, this was my introduction to Doctor Who. So,
of course, yes.
It absolutely blew me away. From the first few episodes, I was absolutely hooked. And although I do prefer, and this is no sort of dig at 9 and 10, but my favourite Doctors are Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
Although I think that the episodes and the whole universe surrounding Doctor Who and the way it was reintroduced and the themes it played on, I think is perfected in the Russell T Davies era, and I think
Yeah.
this era is the best. And I love the sort of blending between fantasy and sci-fi at the start of New Who, because the Doctor, how Russell always describes him, is a lonely god, and you do feel that way, and you do feel that this character is a sort of godlike entity, not literally. Chibnall took that a bit too far, but
Yeah.
it is a nice sort
Well,
of
it
blend.
depends. If you think about, sorry, I'm back. By the way. If you think about the Family of Blood, I think the Doctor does portrayal there is way too godlike. Even
Yeah.
the way he punishes the family. But beyond anything else we've seen from the Doctor, I mean, I think that's trying to show there's just immensely scary, powerful side of him. And when he gets up and does the Casturba speech, we're supposed to be evoking that.
Yeah.
Here comes trouble. He's in the mood.
I would say, though, with relation to the Family of Blood incident, I think that's more of the Doctor having a god complex than rather being physically a god, as in the Chibnall era, where the Doctor is now sort of immortal. That I think with the Family of Blood, it's more sort of a god complex.
And also in Boomtown, Slovene describes the TARDIS as the technology of the gods.
Yeah, that's true. They do. Interesting.
Which is consistent with how we know that a lot of the universe viewed the Time Lords.
Yes,
if they even believe they really existed.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, and you could see how they would be perceived.
They live in an invulnerable city.
Yeah.
Outside of the rules of time and space, and no one can fuck you up more than the Time Lord can.
No, exactly.
I mean, Time Lords screw over gods. So,
Yeah.
It's kind of true, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, if you look at it, you can see why people thought
the power of time. What could be more godlike?
Yeah.
Space Jesus.
Space Jesus.
Yes, they tried turning the Doctor into Space Jesus.
Jesus. Yeah. But there's Sadako's comment. Sometimes RTD wrote him as a lonely god, sometimes as an obnoxious, nasty adolescent with an attitude problem. He rarely felt the intellectual of old. To me, it defeated the point of bringing the character back. Very interesting point of view.
Massive, valid criticism.
Yes, absolutely. That's a brilliant.
I mean, you could say, but in Series 8, Capaldi's first season, there is a concerted attempt to bring back a version of the Doctor much more like he was in Classic.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And the BBC went completely chicken on it and chickened out.
Yeah, it's a shame because
the show's been off balance and getting worse ever since.
Yeah. I mean, Capaldi's
they chickened out on the characterization of the Doctor, but we will be getting here in 5 weeks.
5 weeks time. But no, I must admit, I agree there. Capaldi's Doctor was I loved Capaldi in his first series because of that. Because it was the attempt to be the classic Doctor again, and it was lovely.
I think Sadako is hitting on something very important, though, which is to do with the pacing of the show when it came back.
Yeah.
But I can sink into Classic Who and just watch away. And a lot of the times, I'll like a 6-part story or something. I'll just watch it, and the time will just fly. I won't even think that's like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching New Who, it's so noisy.
Well, yeah.
And it's so frenetic. It doesn't really give you a chance to take a step back as the audience in the same way as Classic does.
Yeah, it doesn't let you. It doesn't give you
It's very
time.
demanding that
Yeah.
you're up with its beat and
Yes.
following its moments.
Amen. Yeah.
It's only really presenting you with one way to approach it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that is a limitation of Russell's version of the show.
Yeah.
But he did what he needed to do to become massive and popular in television at that time.
Well, yeah, it was.
And
It
I
was
really
era.
hope that he could do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because otherwise, the next few years we'll see the end of Doctor Who.
Sadly. Yeah.
And people should not take this lightly.
Nope.
And nor should we be looking at the Disney deal as some sort of magic fix.
No, because it isn't.
Because
really
the
isn't.
simple fact is, Disney murdered Star Wars.
Oh, don't even go there. Don't even go there.
Star Wars is now a dead brand.
It's a nothing now.
Because Disney decided that Star Wars' best destiny was propping up the streaming service of Disney Plus.
Yeah, agreed.
But in reality, in the industry, the era of streaming is seen not as a success, it's being seen as a huge failure.
Yep, agreed. Because it
And
is.
the reason it's a huge failure is that everyone's chasing far too small a pot.
Yep.
And the actual profits of streaming have gone downhill to such an extent that Disney's only making 10% of what it was making off physical media sales.
Yep.
10%.
10%.
Who buys Doctor Who Blu-rays anymore? Only the classic old ones.
Yeah, exactly. It's only us lot that do that.
So there are huge issues in the industry. Star Trek is another dead brand.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, Picard.
I'm currently really enjoying Picard Series 3.
Yeah, I'm going to watch episode 6 after this. So
I'll spoil nothing about it for anybody.
Yeah.
But they've got a new showrunner in who's tried to give the fans what they want at last for 1 year.
Yeah.
So I am so happy for Star Trek fans, but at least they are getting what the Star Wars fans were denied, which is the old team back together again for one last blast.
Yeah. Sadly, that never happened.
However, it is one last blast.
Yeah.
So as much as I enjoy it, the entire thing is member berries.
Yeah, that's all it is, really.
Because
in reality, that's all it is.
You can't really do a series about old characters from 40 years ago that isn't member berries.
Yeah, exactly.
But where is Star Trek going forwards?
Nowhere at the moment. Absolutely nowhere.
It ain't going to get better.
No.
Because, the show's been so damaged by the wokeism of Discovery. The brand's been so damaged.
Yeah.
But it's just not cool anymore.
No.
And, of course, Discovery itself has been cancelled.
Well, yeah.
So, will there be some new Star Trek show? Are they setting up a new series headed by Jack Crusher as a new captain or something like that? That seemed a possibility to me.
Yeah.
But it's the same old retreads of other better creatives' work from 30 years ago.
Yeah, because that's all it is.
These big old franchises cannot manage to survive just by cannibalizing their past.
Because it doesn't
work. At the same time, they cannot survive being recklessly handled by people who don't understand that the integrity of the storytelling is paramount or nobody has anything.
Yeah.
Instead we get the Susie Kempners and the Parasite wannabes who just sucking the blood out of this franchise to try and boost their Twitter clicks.
Yep.
Doctor Who cannot survive this.
No. It's in danger.
The anniversary and series 14 have got to be unadulterated massive successes. They have got to bring in a big new audience for Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Otherwise, by the end of series 14, the decision will already have been made to pull the plug at the end of a contract, and if you're lucky, you'll get 2 more series before the end.
Yeah, if we're lucky.
So the
Because-
show is in peril, and that perhaps is why it's important for us all to remember just why we love the show in the
Yes,
first place.
exactly.
So that we mustn't be hypercritical as fans. We must support the good where we can. At the same time, we have to call out the shite. So we must try to find a balance, but it isn't denying issues, and it isn't focusing only on problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think partly why the RTD era was so successful was back then fandom was a lot more like that. We were, in fact, somewhat more forgiving.
Yes, we were. It was nowhere near as brutal
But
as it is at
then
the moment.
at the time, we had been nothing but respected. And the idea that the BBC would set out a deliberate social media policy of abusing the fandom would never have occurred to us as possible.
No. Certainly wouldn't.
But then that's the strange times that we've been living through.
Absolutely.
Common sense has been thrown completely out the window. And let us just hope that the success and love that RTD brought to Doctor Who in 2005, he can do it again. Because, like it or not, it does now all depend on him.
Yes. It's on his shoulders.
And Shooty.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And Billy.
Yeah, and Billy,
But with those two, I've got no doubts whatsoever. Give them the material, they will make it shine.
Yeah. But it's interesting times. But we are in dangerous position at the moment for the show. We really are.
GoldenagedGeek, anything you would like to add?
Yeah, with the recent reports that the last episode of Whittaker's era was supposed to be the last episode of Doctor Who, that it was supposed to be cancelled, and if Russell hadn't picked it up when he did, it would have been cancelled. It just goes to show that this show is very much, I mean, it's,
actually, the show has nearly been cancelled twice.
Yeah.
It was nearly cancelled at the end of 12. It was nearly cancelled at the end of 13. At the end of 11, despite the spin that was put out, the audience collapsed in half. And the BBC were very worried. And that's why they insisted in all the fan insert stuff going into season 12, because there was none in series 11. But then Chibnall, perhaps out of some resentment of being told what to do by BBC high-ups, then decided to screw the pooch completely and just trash the canon to make some kind of point,
Yeah.
I mean, the man was a nipplehead.
And with what Time Prophet says that he really wished it was cancelled. I don't know if he's being sort of humorous with that or whether it is literal, but I can't.
Oh no, he means it.
Oh, he means it.
He means it.
But
I would have been cool with it.
Yeah,
I would have gone. Well, it's not a surprise, is it?
Yeah, it's a choice of, do you see your favorite show just decline and decline and decline in quality, like just keep on, or do you just say, okay, do you know what? Maybe it's time that we just put a stop for a while. Maybe let's get our act together and then perhaps do another series.
Well, if it can't manage to do that now, then that is exactly what will have to happen.
We're at a major turning point in the show's history where it may just be done.
Yeah, it's not in a good place. It really isn't. And certain things have been happening on social media just recently aren't exactly helping matters, shall we say.
Archie Collin is absolutely right. Season 15 is not a guarantee. It is an option.
Yes, it is. It is an option. It is an option, which again should be a nice red flag for everybody. That things, if it doesn't go well, season 14
but not to BBC Studios or the marketing team at the BBC official Twitter about me. They don't seem to understand the situation the show's in. That's it. They just don't seem to get it. I like that. I don't care what the new Doctor will be like. I just want John White to review it. God bless
Well, there
his
you
type
go.
of it.
Awesome.
You know, when you say nice things, you can say some very nice things.
Yeah, he's good. He's good when he wants to be. He's good when he wants to be.
That's much appreciated. I intend to.
Yes.
We'll see. We'll see what Destiny has in store. I
Yeah,
might
indeed.
surprise you all.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, where were we? Back to Golden Age Geek.
Yes. Carry on.
Continue your summarising, please.
So I think that the next series of Doctor Who, or at the very least these specials, will see a huge boost in popularity because of course we've got David Tennant coming back, some other familiar faces, but afterwards, we can't really determine how well the show will be doing going forward by these specials, because undoubtedly they are going to perform well. It's everything that comes after that.
We need a good Christmas special.
Yeah.
Led by Nakuti.
Yeah.
Which we're going to get. Shoot, I keep it's Shooty. I must get.
It's Shooty. Yeah.
I say it as I read it. Shooty. We need a good. We need the new season to be starting no later than early March next year.
Yeah.
So we can get in New Year, hit the ground running.
Yeah,
it needs to be an early 2024 season.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be. Because that's how we liked it before, and I think that's what we're going to get again. But no one's actually said anything about the schedule for 2024 yet.
Yeah, in fact, in reality,
we do need to keep the momentum and hit the ground hard in 2024.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the 8, I agree with Ian Living, it's not enough. It should be 13.
Yeah.
The 8 episodes are all going to have to be better than average.
Yeah, they are. They're all going to have to be a series 4.
There's no space for a Boomtown. There's no space for a Fear Her.
No, it's got to be all good.
Every story has to land with impact and make you say, "Cool, that was great." Yeah. And there are shows pulling this off. And I mean, I still don't know if Gobby's had a chance to check it out. But for example, Lockwood and Co. over on Netflix.
Not yet.
Is
Not yet.
an absolutely excellent watch. It's also got the same writer as, believe it or not, Orphan 55.
I used to like Orphan 55. It was a good show.
Along with what's her name? who did Villa Diodati?
Oh, yeah. I know.
But I think the writers have had a horrible time as well.
Yeah.
Would you really want Chris Chibnall to be having the final say on your goddamn script?
No.
Right?
No. Well, we all know what happened when he did.
Can you imagine the hell those writers have been through?
Oh yeah.
And I do think it's actually really unfair. Because from what I can see from the talent of these scripts for Lockwood, if they had been, if they had a better boss, their script should have been dynamite.
And everything would be
if you've got an idiot in charge, it matters.
Yeah, oh yes. It always comes from the top.
And all of those scripts getting Chibnallized. Oh God. Get your greasy fingers off it, Chris. Just don't do any writing, Chris.
Yeah, please. Please.
Stay away from the writing, stay away from the writers, At least JNT didn't pretend he was a writer.
Well, no.
I mean, he used to make them do some stupid things all the same, but at least he didn't pretend to be any good at it.
No.
So
good comment. There's a good comment there from Backyard TARDIS. I think even if the new season of Doctor Who is just as good as RTD's first run, it will not be accepted. It has to be better to win fans back.
It's got to be damn good.
It's got to be really, really, really good. Because I mean, there's a lot. We all know, looking on social media, that there are.
I would agree, especially from a modern information climate. It's got to be. It does have to be stronger than Series 1.
Yeah, it's got.
Which I believe we gave an A+ to overall.
Yes, we did.
But it can't have the longest day either.
No, exactly.
It's got to be a season full of Dalek and Father's Day.
Yeah, it's really got to hit it hard, but only time will tell. Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
Potentially, we could be looking back from those of us who will be there, could be looking back from the 70th anniversary.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Looking back at this time as a time where the show exploded like never before and became a true global success phenomena. That could be the story that fandom is telling in 10 years' time. But by heck, it's brown trousers at the moment.
Yeah.
Keep everything crossed. Because God, this has to be good. But we will know by the end of November.
Yeah.
Because if the 60th doesn't land, walk away now.
Yeah, if the 60th, the 60th needs to, but I think it'll do okay, the first one, because of who's there, who's going to be in it. But even that, the first episode needs to land well.
Well, can you imagine if it turned out, after all the expectation, it was Legends of the Sea Devil with Susie Kempner being a deadly assassin? Can you imagine if that's what it actually was? Oh God!
Stop it! Because the thing is, because in the environment that we live in now, if that first one doesn't hit the ground running, people won't be there for the second one. They just won't be there.
No, we won't. No. You've got an audience. You've got 3 episodes, 4 tops.
Yeah.
If you haven't got them by episode 3, you haven't got them at all. Ask Amazon.
Yeah, exactly.
Ask Rings of Power.
Well, yeah.
And despite the marketing of $1 billion corporation behind it, it still sank like a freaking stone because the audience didn't want it.
And that's can be pointed at lots of new shows that have just disappeared because people don't want it. You've got to hit the ground running, and it was before all this with Doomsday. Dare I mention it? People were beginning to get getting a little bit positive, and then this comes along, and you could see it straight away. Everybody's morale dropping again, and everybody going, "Oh Christ, here we go."
I might be cringe, but if you don't like it, you'll have to put up with it.
And that's
along the lines of, "It ain't your show no more, Grandad."
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's Grandad.
The show took too long. It's been about the toxic white male gaze.
But the thing is,
the white patriarchy.
But the thing is,
years of it. Problem being, is sick to the teeth of it. He ain't going.
Well,
that boy's going to explode. He ain't going to take it. He's going to be going through a few accounts in the very near future, I predict.
I think so. But I mean, it's like the thing is, it's no good saying the show isn't for us. Us granddads, because it's us granddads who sit our kids in front of the telly and introduce them to this show. If we're not putting them in front of the telly, we're not showing them the show, you ain't going to get an audience. They're going to walk away. They really are going to walk away. My kids, well, you can imagine my kids have watch Doctor Who. They'll sit with me through the classic stuff.
It's just granddads. I'm not one, but I'd like to be. But I'm trying to get the bugger to hurry up. But it's just granddads who put our kids in front of the show.
Problem being, he's deactivated his account. That's how annoyed I am.
Safety measures have been activated.
Safety measures activated. Fields are up.
They should bring back Wang Chiang. Ooh, that's a good one. But I've lost track of myself now. Oh, damn it. Where was I, Gobby?
I completely forgot because he threw me.
I don't even know. No, I don't know either. Oh, God.
No, it's us granddads, we were saying. It's us granddads.
Us granddads who put our kids in front of the show.
Yep.
During the 90s, especially, when no other bugger wanted to know.
No, exactly.
Yeah, so sodgy disrespect. We're not having it.
No, and the thing is, they don't get it, do they? If you look at the responses recently on Twitter, they don't understand why everybody's annoyed. They really don't get it.
It's us granddads who spent a small fortune on memorabilia for our kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And made that era a giant commercial success. Sodgy disrespect.
Yeah, I've had enough. Yeah,
that's where we're at. We're happy for the show to have a reset. We're happy for the show to have a new start. But we're not taking any more of this woke shit from the last 5 years.
No.
And every time it pops up, it's going to get the same treatment.
Yeah.
And if it means that thousands of us get blocked on Twitter, oh well.
Well, it's not just
that's what's happened this week.
Oh, I know. Well, I mean, it's not just the block. It's not just the blocking.
Even harmless little accounts have been blocked off by that lunatic.
But the thing is, it's not just the blocking, is it? It's everything that comes with it. The abuse, the death threats, the slurs, everything that gets
just
stirred up.
General nasty, toxic unpleasantness of the sordid little creatures and
well, after the last
little minds. Yes, I know.
After the last 5 years, I thought, now we've got a new start. Everything might be, getting better. No, in fact, it's just stirred up to be as bad as it was, and a lot of us, you keep it going, and we'll just walk no matter what, because it just can't be dealing with all this hassle. To be brutally honest, really
the
can't.
Show will not get itself a new audience diving straight into the biggest political controversies of our times.
Yeah, and it's not going to
work.
No.
So whoever thinks it would work is either an idiot or a liar only out for themselves.
I'll probably take the second one, to be fair, mate.
I think the second one 9 times out of 10, although some of them actually are idiots.
Well, yeah.
There's a bit of a mix, but overwhelmingly it's personal ambition parasiting off what could easily become the corpse of Sci-Fi's greatest franchise.
Yep.
And we are its fandom, so somehow we've got to navigate the near future and hope that the show is in some sort of state to survive at the end of it.
Yeah. Wow. Put that on the end of a downer, didn't we?
Yeah.
But it's true. It's true. I mean...
well, because we're talking about the challenges that RTD now has.
Yes, massive. I mean, somebody quite right.
And I'm all for optimism. I'm all for not prejudging something. I will not write this off until I've seen it, assuming I do. Yeah. But at the same time, get real. It's got to be good. We're all acknowledging it's got to be good. We're just giving it its chance. But hey, you know what? That's exactly the same chance I gave Jodie Whittaker.
Yep.
On the morning, on the Sunday that Woman Who Fell to Earth went out. Because I hadn't prejudged her Doctor. In fact, I wasn't paying attention to anything being said about the show online. I was too busy. I was doing a university degree at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't have time for Doctor Who online chit chat. And I watched it. The first episode was okay. I thought it was acceptable.
Yeah.
God, it went downhill from there. But I didn't form an opinion until not only the full series 11, but actually the first Dalek special had also gone out.
Yeah.
Because I thought no matter how bad the first series was, I thought, well, let's see what they do with the special. I gave it every chance before I formed a single negative opinion about it. Right? Then I go, okay, I will now see this for what it is. Then I went online. Then I saw what was happening to the fans. And then I just got me sorted out. Yeah.
But I think.
But it's all about, no matter what the culture war shit is, right? It's about the quality of the product.
Yeah.
I mean, we mentioned Susie Kempner tonight because it's really blown up this week in fandom. And
it's just
become a meme already, right?
Yeah,
look, this is the point. It's about the performance. If she'd only have delivered a reasonable performance, where we could have felt that this somebody actually was credibly somebody who could kill somebody else, and therefore credibly an assassin. That's all it would have taken. None of this other crap.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Entertain us. That is what we want. We don't want to be preached at. We don't want to have real world issues ground in our faces. We don't mind them as a background to stories. We don't mind them as themes, right? But we don't want political hammering.
No.
Yeah, and I just don't think the BBC is institutionally capable of hearing that.
No. It goes goes against everything they stand for at this present moment in
It
time.
really comes down to, is RTD still a creative genius? Or has he too become too radicalized by politics in the current age?
Yeah.
And certainly the way he's opened his mouth about the current government is not reassuring.
No, not at all.
But then here's a funny thing. Back to Susie Kempner. There have been a number of creatives today.
Oh, yes.
Including a particular Big Finish writer.
Yes, indeed.
But have been standing up for Susie Kempner.
Yeah.
But then when you go and look at that particular person's Twitter feed, you find out that the most exciting thing for him this week was having a hard-on, hoping that Boris Johnson was going to get shown up.
Yeah. Enough. Yeah, it says enough,
You
doesn't
know,
it?
or if it's not that, it's Trump. You know, I mean, these people are obsessed.
They are.
Absolutely. And they just can't let it go, and they can't understand how they themselves are risking the future of the whole damn franchise.
Yep.
Because they can't control themselves. They can't rein themselves in.
No.
They can't focus only on making good product. That's it. That's what you're paid to do. That's what the job is. And if you can't do it, the job should be going to somebody else.
Yep.
Because when I think about the talent in fandom that would just leave Susie Kempner and all of her just in the dust. I'm not talking about myself. I might fancy myself perhaps as a writer, but not as an actor.
No.
But I know that there is talent in the fandom, which is so huge. But it's just, it's a joke when the BBC is presenting that to us as a product worthy of our respect.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, I'm in a right old randy mood, aren't I?
Well,
I feel we've rambled, and I hope you've found the ramble interesting.
Well, everybody seems to be enjoying it.
Shall we do final words and try to wind this up?
Yes, shall we indeed? Shall we, as Golden Age Geek has sat there listening to us two old men rambling on?
We owe him a great debt.
Yes, we certainly do. So, sir, anything to add?
Well, just to summarize this, whole sort of era as a whole, I think that this era is easily, to me, the most magical, and I really hope that Russell does put his personal biases aside to just provide us with the magic that this era did give us as well. And I really hope that, and as someone who was introduced to this show through the Russell T Davies era, and I've seen how good of a writer he can be, I really just hope for all the younger viewers who will be introduced to the show that they do get an era like I had. I just really hope that they are able to.
That's the most exciting thing.
Yeah,
that's the most exciting thing. A brand new audience never encountered Doctor Who before, because it's taking Doctor Who truly international, which is a real promise of a Disney Plus deal. If there's something in it for us, that's it.
Yeah.
Really taking Doctor Who global in a way that it hasn't ever been before.
Yep, but it's still got to be good.
But it's got to be. As what's the point of going global?
Yeah.
If it's to have the whole planet laugh at you, it's not really a good idea.
Oh no, it's just
a
choice.
But when I think about the missing episodes of Doctor Who, they tell us quite a lot about where Doctor Who built up its original audience. Which outside of the UK, obviously was in a lot of places that had colonial links to Britain, Nigeria and so forth, and Australia, New Zealand. And of course, later in the 70s it got into America. But it was never in America in the 60s. It was far too little a thing. But one thing, talking about New Who and its success, is that something that fandom doesn't really recognise is that New Who in the States has never had anything like the penetration of Classic Who.
No, never has.
And that is actually somewhere that the show has really failed.
Yeah.
And nothing was a greater failure than Legend of the Sea Devils achieving only 175,000 viewers in a country of 360 million citizens.
Yeah. It was, yeah, that was painful.
So
That
let's have no illusions. Doctor Who is dead in the
Yeah.
States.
Oh, it's finished.
We are looking at a resuscitation.
Yeah.
And it's going to have to achieve that, or the Disney Plus deal will be toast.
Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Sorry, I've done it again. Well, back to you, GoldenagedGeek. I just thought it's really important to make it clear to fandom, you know, that people need to understand that.
Yeah.
You know, that
yeah, carry on.
But yeah, I don't really know, much what else to say because I feel like you guys have summarized it so well. But
thank you.
Just the current situation of Doctor Who at the moment is just absolutely terrible. It's quite easily the worst position that the show and the fan base has, been in general. And I really hope that we can just get back to some.
Power of the Doctor cheered us all up for a particular reason.
Yeah, indeed.
But now it's the cold blast of the new year, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, it's
Monkeys are still there. The BBC is still run by idiots.
Sadly, it
can't put the good of our own intellectual property first.
No, we'd rather just use it for whatever we want to use it for.
Slay the golden egg.
Yes, indeed.
Because you all think you can't, and then you find out that we were the only people who gave it value in the first place.
Yep, and they don't care about that either, apparently. It doesn't seem so, any case. Oh, dear me. So, shall we bring this one to a close, gentlemen?
I think we're going to have to.
Yes. Yeah, people are going away to have their dinners and such like now.
Yeah, we're not going to fix anything. So
no.
We're going to have to finish with those, but we might offer a glimpse of what might have been next week.
Yes, absolutely.
As me and GoldenagedGeek present our ideas on how we would have fixed Series 12.
Indeed.
Well, let's see what interesting conversations that generates.
Yes, it should be interesting. So, with that, thank you, everybody. Thanks for all of you who've watched. Thanks for the, as always, very interactive chat. Thanks to all of you for stopping by. And we shall look forward to seeing you next week. And with that, I'd like to say goodbye, everybody.